I was literally just had my finger on the button, Abigail. Thank you for reminding me.
Abby is the record.
We got to have somebody who's on it. Awesome. Well, yeah, we are happy to have you here with us, buddy. It is an absolute pleasure. This is, of course, our 11 amazing leapers for this year. Now, everybody who doesn't know, if you didn't read Isaac's bio on FOL, he sent us one over, and I'm just going to kind of go through it, do that, that formal introduction. So Isaac is currently the CEO at Movement Strength, which is a local business here in London and something you should all check out. Super cool. And he focuses there on developing marketing strategies, creating sales processes, and leads his team to educate their clients about various health and fitness methodologies. He has worked for some amazing brands such as Apple, where he ran multiple sales teams, as well as trained B2B Apple sales reps around the globe. Isaac helps young entrepreneurs understand the importance of sales and marketing by providing these individuals with a simple to follow 6-step process that we're going to go through today. Isaac is a huge fan of all things health and fitness, and if you're ever running any trails in London, chances are you'll run into him or run by him. Awesome. So without further ado, Isaac, you have the floor. Take it away, buddy.
Cool. Sounds good. I feel like going for it, I need to make the bios just like Isaac's a cool guy. You're going to listen to him for the next 40 minutes. I have so much to live up to now. My goodness. But getting right into things. So I have the privilege of chatting to you guys about marketing and sales today. And as David mentioned, my name's Isaac, and I'm the CEO of a company in town called MVMT Strength or Movement Strength. And to be honest, the reason that I'm so passionate about marketing and sales is it is literally the reason that my business has been able to survive this past year and a half, but also thrive. So being in the fitness industry, I'm sure you guys can appreciate that we've been closed or impacted significantly. And because of marketing and because of social media, we were able to adapt our strategies very, very quickly to make some pretty cool programs. So a lot of the strategies that I'm going to talk to you guys about today are things that we've implemented over the past year and a half. So they're tried, they're effective. And if you have any questions, by all means, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, as I am here to provide y'all with value. But getting straight to it, the 6 core functions of any successful business. And although we're not going to go over all 6 core functions today, I do want to make sure that you guys have them all in front of you. So feel free to take a snapshot of this, write it down, do whatever you'd like. The reason that they're so important is as an entrepreneur, and maybe it's just me, but I 100% suffer from like shiny object syndrome. There's like 1,000 different things going on. I want to do all of it. There's so many balls that I'm trying to make sure aren't dropping. So this is a great way to allow myself to know what I actually need to focus on in my business. So the first one is lead generation. And lead generation is all about creating ads that are going to attract potential clients. Maybe they're not ready to buy yet. So that's why they're prospects or they're these leads. Once we have this lead, they go on to the next phase, which is lead nurture. It's great that I have your information, but now how am I nurturing that relationship? Am I calling you? Am I texting you? Am I sending you emails? Whatever it may be. If I've done a good job nurturing this relationship, well, hopefully you'll actually come to my store or come to my website and buy something that I'm selling. So that's the third function, or the sales function. Once they buy the product, then it's all about fulfillment. What is the experience like with the product that they've purchased? What is the experience like with the service that they've purchased? From there, we move on to ascension. Do you have other products that your business sells or other services that your business sells? What's your strategy to try to ascend that customer to purchase said products? And then last but certainly not least is retention. How do you make sure that this client sticks around for not just days and weeks, but months and years? All right. So these 6 core functions are really how I kind of manage my time and allows me to know what I need to focus on. I'll tell you right now, there's never going to be a time in your business where all 6 of these things are functioning at a high level. There might be times where you guys are getting an influx of leads coming in. Maybe right when you open up your business, it's something new and people are super pumped. So you're getting all these prospects, but maybe you don't have a good way of nurturing them. There hasn't been a system that you've created to deal with the influx of leads that are coming in. So now you know you need to focus on creating a system for lead nurture. So it's nice to almost do kind of like a recap of these 6 core functions, maybe not once a week, but bi-weekly or at least monthly, to see in your business what's working well right now and what do you maybe need to focus on. So as much as I would love to go over all 6 of these in depth with you today, we don't have the time, and that's okay. So we're going to primarily focus on the first 3, which is lead gen, lead nurture, and sales. So the first one, lead generation. I know this seems like such a simple concept, but you can't have customers without first having potential customers. And the reason I say this is I know when I first started Movement Strength, I was under the impression that if I built it, they would come, right? I'm going to create this gym and then people are going to be knocking on the door. We're going to be full within the month. And that's usually not how things work, not just with gyms, but with all products in business. Traditionally, what will happen is a customer might be interested in your business, but they're not ready to commit. They're not ready to buy. So they are a lead, they are a prospect, and you need to ensure that you're nurturing that lead so one day they do buy what you're selling. When we think of lead generation, it all comes down to advertising. What type of ad are you going to create to generate some sort of lead? I don't know if you guys hear the nice car horn. We're going to move. This is the beautiful thing about Zoom. Perfect. Here we go. Into the bedroom. Okay. So when we think of lead generation and creating ads, at the end of the day, it's all about marketing. And I quickly want to just decipher some concepts with marketing, as I think sometimes this can be a little bit confusing for people. When we think of marketing, we think marketing, branding, advertising. And if you're not necessarily involved or know much about these concepts, we sometimes think they're all the same thing, where that's not the case. So really quickly, the difference between branding and advertising is branding is what makes your business actually feel like a person, okay? Branding has everything to do with identity. So who are you? What kind of business are you in? What's your name? How does the brand make you feel? What is your logo like? What colors are you using on your website? This is all branding. And although it's important, the thing that a lot of people have an issue with when it comes to branding is it's really difficult to actually tell what your return on investment is. And what I mean by that is if you invest $1,000 on your website, do you actually think you're going to get $1,000 back? And it's really difficult to tell if those dollars are coming back to your business. Whereas when we think advertising is about communicating what you have to offer through sales, coupons, social media ads, etc. So today we're primarily going to be focusing on advertising, specifically paid advertising. When you create an ad, it all starts with an offer, right? If I'm expecting Josh to give me money, I need to be giving Josh something else in exchange. So when we're creating or crafting this irresistible offer, there's really 4 things that you need to focus on. First and foremost, you need to have a call to action. Okay, so your ad needs to be telling that person to do something. Learn more, sign up now. And we want to make sure that because they're signing up or because they're learning more, we're giving them something for their time. So maybe it's sign up for 10% off of your next purchase. Once again, I know this is like advertising or marketing 101, but when I first started Movement Strength, I'll never forget the very first Facebook ad that I created was to come to our grand opening. So I made this Facebook ad. It was like, come to our grand opening. And there was no call to action. So I spent like $100 on this ad and I had zero idea if people were actually clicking on it or even seeing it. So make sure there is a clear call to action on your ad. Next is scarcity. When you're creating an offer, and you'll see this all the time, right? Make sure that there's some sort of scarcity built into it. When we think of clothing, maybe it's stock is limited, or when it's gone, it's gone. We need to ensure that people are clicking on your ad now, and nothing will make sure that they click on it now more than scarcity And the next bit, which is urgency. If a sale is on forever, then it's not a sale, right? So we need to make sure that there is an actually clear end date. So whether it be the sale ends tomorrow, or it's a Black Friday deal, or it's a Boxing Day sale, or whatever it may be, we want to ensure that we're trying to get the client to take action on our ad immediately. And then last but not least is stack and value. All right. Now, this is where the irresistible bit comes into play. We want to make it so amazing that this customer would feel silly not clicking on your offer. And we see it all the time, right? Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get one 50% off. Or if you're the first 100 customers to line up in front, you get a free hot dog or tote bag or something like that, right? We want to ensure that we're stacking value for our clients. Now, once we have that ad created, and I'm going to move back out of my bedroom. Once we have that ad created, there's a lot of different ways or areas that you can actually advertise your product. So if we look at social media, we have places like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, Google, all these places. There's more traditional forms, radio, TV, direct mail, posters, billboards, podcasting. And you might be looking at this list and you're like, Isaac, why are you talking to me about radio and TV? This isn't the 1960s. Although that's true, the thing is if you know who your target market is, depending who they are, they might still be listening to the radio or they might still be watching cable TV. If you're marketing towards 50 to 75-year-olds, you might have a better chance reaching them on a radio station than them scrolling through TikTok, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about who your ideal client is. That's where you should be speaking to them too. The other bit, and this is kind of new for me this year, don't rely on one platform. So for ourselves, I would say 90% of the leads that we're generating are coming from Facebook. The reason for that is it's just a very effective platform for our ideal client. But if Zucks decides to close Facebook tomorrow, then what do I do, right? So I need to ensure that I'm not just putting all of my eggs in one basket. And even more important than this, and this might have been something that you guys have already learned, I don't want to just live within the realm of Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. I want to ensure that I'm capturing that individual's information. And that's kind of what lead generation is all about. Ideally, I would love first name, last name, phone number, and email address. When I have these four things, I now own that in my database. So if I want to talk to Ashley via email, I can send Ashley an email. If I want to talk to Josh on the phone, I can give Josh a call. But if I'm only trying to talk to Josh on Facebook and then Josh says Facebook isn't cool anymore, well, now I've lost that client altogether. So we want to ensure that we have this information so we can always communicate to said individuals. Another quick note on this. So last year when I was doing this presentation, I feel like TikTok was kind of newish to me anyways, being an older guy. Whereas now TikTok is actually like a massive part of our business. From January to March, we gained about 50,000 followers on the platform. And from there, we immediately moved them to email. And we've gained quite a bit of traction from that platform alone. So using the different platforms, not just relying on one, is super important. And then the last bit is email marketing. So email marketing, especially for someone like myself, I thought that was very much of a dated approach that you wouldn't really get a great return on investment with. But because we had all of these amazing leads that we've generated from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all in our email list, I send out, 2 to 3 emails per week. And those on average will generate quite a few $1,000s each month. So make sure that if you have this list of individuals, that you're actually utilizing it and talking to them via the different areas that you can with phone, text, and email. So the reason that I love social media marketing, and this is going to be the primary one that I want to focus on today, as much as you guys probably want to learn about radio ads and TV ads, I'm sorry, we're going to chat social media marketing. Here's just a few reasons why I love it. First one is it's easy, especially when you can compare it to direct marketing or when you compare it to radio or TV, it's very simple to get into. I'm not going to go in depth in creating a Facebook or an Instagram ad today, but if you want, literally just go to YouTube, type in how to make a YouTube ad or how to make a Facebook ad, and there'll be a ton of videos for you guys to watch. And they're very, very in depth. So I highly recommend doing that. Reason number one. Second reason, amazing analytics. Okay. This is a huge one, especially for me being a small business owner. I don't have millions of dollars to throw onto a TV ad and just hope and pray that someone comes to my business because of it. The analytics that social media gives me is I know the ad that I've created, how it's performing, how many people are actually clicking on the link, how many people are actually giving me their information. And then from there, I can decipher how many of those individuals have actually come into my business and purchased something. So this is where marketing, and this is what it's all about. If you create an ad and it costs you $5 to create that ad, you get 100 leads from it, and you get one person, but that one person paid $100 for whatever product that you sold, you're making bank, right? That's where it's like, okay, I'm going to put $10, $20, $100, $200 on social media ads because you know you're going to get a positive return on investment. But anytime you're spending money on marketing, I highly, highly recommend that you have some sort of system in place so you know how much money you are getting back from your ads. Okay. So I know for us, the average cost, I'm probably telling you too much, but that's okay. Don't tell my business secrets to others out there. But I know the cost to attract a customer is about $250 for my business. Okay. So I also know that if I spend $250 on an ad, that revenue is going to be roughly $1,500. So that is a huge positive return on investment. That means realistically, I can spend up to $1,500 attracting a client. Okay, so that's where the math is really, really important of knowing how much you spend on marketing and knowing how much it actually costs to attract a customer. This is where using the traditional forms of marketing or advertising can be really difficult. If you just do print advertising or posters or billboards, you don't always know how many people are coming into your business because of those forms of media. Next, targeting. This is one that usually gets people pretty excited, which is on any social media platform, you have the ability to directly target your ad to a specific target market. So if your ideal client is 36 years old, they're a female, they love Lululemon, they shop at Banana Republic, and they love Trek bikes, you can like target that individual to a T, right? You shouldn't necessarily always do that, but you have the ability to do it. Retargeting. So if someone actually interacts with your ad, but they don't necessarily give you your information, you can actually retarget that individual in an ad afterwards. So if let's see here. If Jenny has clicked on my ad, but she didn't give me her email, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get back in touch with Jenny and I'm going to speak directly to Jenny in a very customized ad. I can do that. Now, I don't always have the option of doing that in some other forms of media, but with social media marketing, I can. I will note with the changes in iOS's most recent security updates, you'll notice now if you guys do have iPhones, that anytime you go to like a website, it'll say, would you like to be tracked or whatever it may be. So retargeting is going to be changing within the next year, I would say. But for right now, it is still a very effective form of communicating with your clients. I'll come back to fast because that's going to be a bit of a story, but inexpensive. If you have an irresistible offer, social media marketing can be very inexpensive, especially if we're comparing it to TV, radio, billboard, etc. If you only want to spend $5 a day on Facebook or Instagram ads, go ahead. If you want to spend, $10 a month, go ahead. You don't always have that option with some of the more generic forms of marketing. So, the cool thing about social media ads is you can almost pair it where it's not just advertising, but in relation, it's also branding for your business as well. So it doesn't always have to be call to action, but people will eventually say like, oh yeah, I recognize Movement Strength's logo because I see them on the Facebook ads all the time. That's okay. It's 2 for 1. And the last one is it's fast. So this is a big one. And this is kind of when I think of my business, why we're able to not only survive, but thrive over the past year and a half is you can quickly create different campaigns based off of relevant things happening in the world. So on, let's say March 15th, Movement Strength decided that we were going to shut our doors to help flatten the curve. I know it seems like such a long time ago flattening the curve, but that was the case on March 15th. And we knew that the rest of Ontario was doing the same thing. So on March 15th at 11 p.m. at night, I created an ad that went out to all of Ontario talking about online fitness and online nutrition. Because I was so quick to act, that ad had tremendous return on investment. We saw a ton of people click on that ad and give us their email and phone number because it was just quick, right? No one really expected that that was going to be happening. So if this was 10, 15, 20 years ago, I would have had to like create some compelling copy. I would have had to hire a video company to come and record it. Then it would have needed to be approved by the TV company, and then maybe it would air and maybe it wouldn't. So it's so much simpler to act quickly on the trends that are happening in the world because of social media marketing. So here are just some best practices. And as I mentioned, I'm not going to go in depth on how to create a Facebook ad, but here's just some things to look out for. So there's different types of ads that you can create. And this isn't Facebook specific. This is for Google. This is for YouTube. This is for Insta, TikTok, all of them. The one that I primarily recommend is something called a conversion ad. If you go to YouTube and you type how to make a Facebook ad, chances are the one it's going to teach you how to create is a conversion ad because it is the most popular. And from a small business standpoint, it allows us to know very easily what the return on investment of that particular ad would be. So the idea of a conversion ad is this. You would see a little box on whatever platform you're marketing on. On that box, it may say learn more, get offer, apply, whatever. When someone clicks on that box, it would take them to a separate page. Because you've now left Facebook, that communicates back with Facebook that they've taken action on your ad. So now you know, okay, someone has clicked on my ad. If they then give you the information is then sent to your database and they're brought to another page, which also communicates with your ad saying that someone has actually taken action and giving you information. So now you know for every $5 you spent, one person or one ad or one lead actually came through. Okay, so this is all through a conversion ad. I know it sounds complex in theory. I promise if you watch a quick video on how to do it, it's very, very simple as it'll walk you through step by step by step. Market on one platform per ad campaign. So this is more Facebook specific because they do own Instagram. When you create an ad, that ad can go on both platforms. Don't do that. People who utilize Instagram are different than people who utilize Facebook, and the way you're interacting on these two different platforms is going to be different as well, right? So you want to ensure the ads that you're creating, the offers that you're creating are specific to those platforms. So when we think of pattern interrupt, which is really what advertising is all about, on Instagram, it's all beautiful pictures, right? That are usually high quality and very colorful. So what is a way that we can stop people from scrolling? Well, if it's all color photos, what if you did one that was black and white? Now that individual that's scrolling through, they're like, oh, wait, what's this black and white photo? They stop on your photo for a second, which might just be enough time for them to like what you're actually talking about, click your link, give you your info, and one day purchase your product, okay? So that compared to Facebook or TikTok is gonna look really different. Don't go crazy with targeting. And this is usually where people get really excited with social media advertising, is that they can speak specifically to their individual, but you don't always want to do that. The reason for it is you really tend to narrow your market down, and then you're actually not talking to that many people. So don't go crazy with your targeting. I would still say, if you have a product that is primarily targeted to males or females, you can pick the specific sex that you want to market to. Or if there's a specific age demographic, Maybe your ideal client is 36. I would still give it a buffer from like 25 to 45. You don't want to be hyper specific. But yes, it's still useful to use the targeting to some point. Use creative that performs well. So when you create an ad, and this could even be when you think of an organic post on Instagram, right? Something that is free. The creative or the picture, video, etc., is traditionally the most important portion of your ad because that is what is going to get the individual to stop for a split second to look at your picture. Once they look at the picture, the next thing they're going to look at is the headline or the first few, words that you would write in that Instagram post. And then if they like your headline, then they may read the copy, which is the bigger text that you've written. So in terms of importance, creative, headline, copy. Okay. Then we have learn more versus get offer versus apply. And this is more of like the psychology of marketing. But these three different words are going to apply a lot of a different feeling within people. So if I have an ad that says learn more, that's pretty passive, right? That's not very specific. That isn't requiring too much of an individual to actually go and click, yeah, I want to learn more about movement strength, or I want to learn more about Rachel's business, or whatever it may be. Whereas if you say apply or get offer, that's like, whoa, okay, this is serious. I don't know if I'm ready to apply for this yet, or I don't know if I'm ready to get this offer yet. So learn more will most likely get you more quantity of leads, but the quality of leads may not be as high. Whereas get offer or apply may get you a higher quality of lead, but the quantity of leads may not be as high. So at the end of the day, you just need to decide what is more important. Do you want quantity? Do you want quality? Obviously, we would love both, and that is possible at the end of the day. But I will be honest that I usually err on the quantity side, as in terms of them reading my copy and going to the landing page. That's where they can decipher if this is the right program for them. Then last but not least, we have a landing page. And I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, so if there's anything that you need clarity on, once again, please feel free to utilize that chat feature or just unmute yourselves and ask. But we will go over like the actual journey of a lead in a second. But a landing page is usually a website that captures a customer's information. So as I mentioned, we don't want to just communicate with an individual on the platform. We don't want to just use Facebook or Instagram. So when they click on that lead, they are brought to a website. And on that website, it may tell them a little bit more about the offer that you have, the product that you're selling, the service that you're offering, whatever. Then there will be a button for them to actually say, yeah, I'm interested, tell me more, where they would give you your first name, email address, phone number, whatever other information that you would require from them. Once they click on submit, all that information is then brought back to your database, and that database could be Google Sheets. Like that's what we use. It's free. It's amazing. So you can get specific funnel software. So there's something called ClickFunnels that is like really just meant to create landing pages, but you can simply use whatever website builder that you've used for your normal website, whether that be Squarespace, Wix, Shopify. There's a ton of other ones. But what's important with these landing pages is that you can input specific code, which is called pixel, that will talk back and forth with Facebook, with Instagram, with TikTok. So then you actually know how many people are taking action on your ad, how many people are actually giving you the information. So once again, you do not need to be a high level programmer to figure this all out. All you need to do is go to YouTube and type how to create a Facebook ad. And I promise it'll walk you through step by step. It'll talk about pixels. It will all make sense. Okay. But this is the stuff that like gets me all excited because it's so cool to be able to actually track the progress of a client from just seeing your ad to actually interacting with it. So really quickly, I'm not going to go in depth too much on organic social media posts, but this is something that I've discovered over the past year that helped a lot with our TikTok growth as well as our Instagram growth. So I figured I'd throw this snippet in for you guys. If you're like me with my business, there's times where I have like zero idea what I'm going to post. So I'm like, oh, a tree. Okay, I'll take a picture of a tree and try to figure out some sort of clever post to make about it. Whereas now what I do is I've picked 5 areas that I want to specialize in. And then each day that my post is about one of those areas. So if you guys don't believe me, you can literally just go to MVMT Strength on Instagram. That's my shameless plug for you guys to go check us out. And you can see and follow along, and you'll see it's super obvious. I have one post that's usually about fitness. I'll have another one that's about nutrition. I'll have another one that's about like mindset or habit formation. I'll have a client spotlight, and then I'll have something that's fun. So now every day when I look at these 5 different areas, okay, yesterday I talked about nutrition, so I know today's post is going to be about habits. And it's so much easier to create content around those specific areas. And then you can plan it out far in advance. So when a client goes and checks out your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok, they'll see that, oh, they're not just about fitness. They actually talk nutrition and habit formation as well. That's really cool. And then they get a better idea of you and what your business is all about. Next is a concept that Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about, which is jab, 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 right hook. There we go. Look at that. David has the book right in front of him. So it's a very, very good book from Gary. And the whole concept, and small business owners were really bad about this. We constantly want right hooks where it's like, buy my product, sign up for my newsletter, come check out this event. Whereas people, if you're constantly doing that, will stop listening to you. What you want to be focusing more on is giving people things or talking about the features of your product, talking about the benefits of your product. Then maybe it's every 4 or 5 posts you ask them to buy. And you'll see the same thing. If you go to our Instagram, you can check it out. There'll be times where, we're giving recipes, we're giving free fitness advice, and then boom, there'll be one that's like, hey, do you need personalized fitness? Come check out Movement Strength or learn more today. So I'm not constantly asking, but every once in a while I am. So think of that whole jab, 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 right hook concept. And then one of the most important things is consistency. And this is what's really difficult as well. But if you're trying to grow your channel or just gain trust in the market, consistently posting is super, super important. You'll hear different concepts with like post 40 times a day or make 2 posts a day and this and that and different strategies. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you're posting consistently, but you want to consistently post high quality stuff as well. Don't just take a picture of the tree and with a caption of like vision and hope that that's going to be good for you, right? Like you want to make sure what you're doing is actually what people want to listen to or see. And then the last thing with social media is use all the program or all the platform features. So if you're using Instagram, not only can you do pictures, you can do videos, you can do reels, you can do IGTVs, you can do guides, you can do live. So if I'm the face or the Instagram algorithm, and I'm not going to tell you I understand it because nobody does, but if you're Instagram, you're obviously going to give more exposure to someone who's utilizing your platform for all of the different areas. If you're just posting photos compared to photos, reels, IGTV, whatever it may be, that person's going to get a lot more exposure. Okay. So lead nurture. We now have that prospect, right? They've trusted us enough to give us their information. So now that we have this information, maybe they're not ready to buy yet. What does the cadence of communication look like? And this is one thing that is kind of new within the past 5 to 10 years, but a timely response is the most valued attribute in customer service. We know that the internet has completely changed our buyers' behavior, where 10 years ago, I would have phoned up a business from the yellow pages and then just hope and prayed that they would call me back. Where nowadays, if I put my email into a website, there better be an email back in my inbox within the next 5 minutes, right? It's just an expectation that we have. I don't know about you, but if I put my information in and I don't get information right away, I'm almost like, did it not work? I'll re-put my information in, and then like an hour later, maybe I'll get 2 emails or something like that. But we want to ensure we have some sort of cadence of communication, of a timely response for anyone that's potentially interested in the product or services that we're selling. So there's a 78% increase from customers buying from the first responder. So if you're thinking just the industry of gyms, for example, because that's what I know, Most people aren't just going to go to one website and choose that gym. They're going to shop around. But there is a high likelihood, 78% chance, that if I am the first gym to respond to that person, that they will actually come and join my facility. So make sure you have some sort of software that is sending an automated response followed by a more personalized response from you, within the next 24 hours. Okay, very important stuff. This is a bit of a striking stat here, but 55% of small businesses take 5+ days to respond, right? And maybe that was normal 2-3 years ago, but nowadays it's completely unacceptable. If someone is interested in your business, if someone is trying to give you money, it's in your best interest to get on the phone or text that person or email that person to figure out more, to figure out what else you need to share with them. So speed is king, right? This is something that we talk a lot about with our coaches. Speed is king when it comes to lead nurture. And there's a variety of different software that you can use to stay in touch with your leads. And the cool part is a lot of this software is actually free, okay? So some of the bits here, we have Google Sheets. Obviously the whole Google suite is amazing and it's free. There's MailChimp, which is an email provider. You can use them to automate newsletters, to automate different sales processes from people clicking on a link and signing up for your newsletter. So it's free to a certain extent. And then when your audience grows, you might need to pay for it. But if you're just starting off, chances are you're not going to need to pay for MailChimp, which is great. There's another piece of software called Zapier or Zapier. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. Either one is fine. But that is if this, then that software. So this pretty much makes all this different software talk to one another, even if it wasn't necessarily meant to. So an example of how that could work is, let's say, who do we got here? Let's say Brittany goes to my website and she wants to learn more about one of our programs. So she puts in her information and she submits it. As soon as she submits it, Zapier tells Google Sheets that, hey, we have Brittany's first name, last name, email address, phone number. They store it in Google Sheets. When it gets stored in a specific sheet, that then tells MailChimp that MailChimp needs to send Brittany an email. And then when Brittany gets that email, it also sends me a text letting me know Brittany got that email. And then maybe it gives me Brittany's phone number so I can pick up the phone and call Brittany all within 30 seconds. Okay. So this is the stuff that's really powerful. I know for us, I think you get the first 5 zaps from Zapier for free. I think we just use the free one and it works very well. Website builder, Squarespace, Shopify. You guys can pay someone to make your website, right? It's not cheap to do that. I do recommend that you learn how to create your own. It isn't overly time consuming, but what's nice is it does allow you to update it frequently. And we know in this ever-changing environment, or if your business is new, it's most likely going to be seeing some changes. It's nice that you have the ability to do that on your own. And it's not overly expensive. You might be looking at, $15 a month for your website, and a place like Squarespace or Shopify would host your website as well. So it's just a very simple process for you. Texting platforms. This is kind of new within the past few years. You can use your phone if you would like, but then there's the chance of, your normal number being out there in the world. Sometimes you don't want that. So if you want to use software like Twilio or Scipio, you can automate that texting experience straight from your website. You can set up automations where 4 days after Brittany gave me her information on the website, it automatically sends Brittany a text saying, hey, Brittany, how's it going? It's Isaac from Movement Strength. Do you have any questions? Shoot me a text back. That way it kind of seems like I'm a real person. They respond, I respond back, everybody's happy, great times. Next is funnel applications. So this is more specific for landing pages. So there's a website called ClickFunnels that you can do. I'll be honest, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this right out of the gate, especially if you already have some sort of website builder like Squarespace or Shopify. But it is an option if you do want the ability to create landing pages for multiple different offers that you've created. So this is the journey of a lead. Okay. So I know we've talked about a lot of things and there's pixels and software and code and we're like, what's going on? This is how it's all laid out in this nice, neat little package. So when Josh sees Isaac's Facebook ad or Instagram ad, or he checks us out on TikTok and he's like, yo, that place looks cool, he's going to click on my ad. When he clicks on my ad, he is brought to a landing page. And on that landing page, which is a different website, not on TikTok, it's going to talk more about what I'm offering. If he's like, this sounds legit, Josh is going to give me his information, first name, last name, email address, whatever it may be. When Josh gives me his information and claims the offer, he clicks submit. That automatically gets sent to my database, which you could just use Google Sheets and Zapier. When it's sent to my database, that triggers a welcome message that is emailed or texted to Josh. And that can also send me a message saying that we have a new lead, which then prompts me to give Josh a call or send Josh a text or whatever it may be. Right when that happens, then we move on to the next step, which is sales. And this sounds like sometimes it's the dirtiest word to entrepreneurs. Sales, we don't want to come across as used car salespeople, but I promise you, if you believe in your product, then you would be doing your customer a disservice by not focusing on sales. So that's going to be the next bit that we talk about. So sales, you probably have heard the whole idea of, focusing on benefits rather than just features of your product. I like to take it one step further, and we need to focus on selling the problem that you solve, not just the product. So if you sell sweaters, the problem that you're solving is when I'm cold, I need a sweater. All right. So you need to focus on the problem, not just the benefits or the features. So here's some best practices that we utilize when we're talking about sales with our salespeople at Movement Strength. So we have this whole concept of grow or die. And I know that sounds really aggressive, but with business, it's true. We need to constantly be trying to grow our business. We don't want to be complacent. Rapport wins wars. So when I talk about rapport, I talk about the relationship that you're building with your client. As soon as they come in, greet them with a big smile, bring the positive energy, right? That's the kind of stuff that's going to build trust. And we know people will buy from you if they know you, like you, or trust you. Okay. So building trust is super, super important, especially if you're a new business that doesn't necessarily have, a very clear brand or a very prominent brand at the time. Conviction is the next thing. You need to believe in your product. Okay. You need to know that it's going to change or enhance that individual's life. If you believe wholeheartedly that your product is exactly what that individual needs, then once again, you are doing a disservice to that individual if you're not trying to sell them your product. The next bit, find the problem. Okay, so identify the customer's problem from asking open-ended questions. So as David mentioned at the very beginning, I trained salespeople for Apple all across the world. And the big thing that Apple focuses on is asking open-ended questions to really find out an individual's issue or problem. Once we know the problem, we need to ensure that the customer accepts that problem as well. So what I mean by that is, let's see, what else do we got on here? If Rachel is in the Apple store to buy a new computer, and after talking to Rachel and asking her open-ended questions of why she's in here, I discover that Rachel needs a computer because she doesn't have enough space on her existing computer. I need to make sure that Rachel really understands that she needs a computer because she doesn't have enough space on her existing computer. When Rachel understands that she actually has a problem, she's going to be much more likely to buy what I'm selling, which is a computer with more space. And that more space will solve Rachel's problem. Okay, so understanding a client's problem is super, super important. And the way that we do that is from asking open-ended questions. Once you think you know what the problem is, then you can start to ask close-ended questions or yes or no questions to really clarify that you understand what that individual is telling you. And then last but not least, we have focus on helping them. And this is the obvious one at the end of the day. If you truly believe your product will solve their problem, then your conviction will prevail. Childlike curiosity. And if you're like, what the heck is childlike curiosity? Children are the best salespeople. if there is a kid that wants a toy, the likelihood of that kid getting the toy is very, very high because they believe wholeheartedly that they need that toy. And that's a lot of the times how we need to approach a sale as well. If I think David needs the services of movement strength, I am doing a disservice to David if I'm not trying to sell the value of what my product can bring David. So, a little bit more in depth with this: tonality, asking for the sale, and obstacle overcomes. The way we say certain words really, really matter. If you're asking an open-ended question and someone, shares a story that is maybe like a little bit touching, right? And you just say like, "Oh, that's too bad," compared to, "Oh, like that's too bad." That second way of saying the same thing felt completely different. That's going to allow that individual to know that I'm empathizing a lot more with them. When I empathize with the customer, that's a way of building trust with that individual. Like I said earlier, a client is a lot more likely to buy from you if they know, like, or trust you. So building trust through using tonality during certain times of the sale is really, really important. Asking for the sale, in my opinion, is probably the most awkward portion of any sort of sales meeting. And this is one of the things we focused on a lot with our salespeople at Apple. And I can share a story. I remember the very first day I was selling computers at an Apple store. It was the grand opening of a store in Queens in New York. And day one, store is packed. I've never sold Apple products before, so I don't really know what I'm doing, but I like loved Apple products, so I knew how to talk about them. So I'm talking till I'm blue in the face about all these different products, but I never once asked for the sale, and I sold nothing in 7 hours on the busiest day of the year. Okay. If I would have literally just said, "How would you like to pay for that today? Would you like to use credit or debit?" These common little phrases that we can use, that is asking for the sale. So that's one thing. Like, if there's one thing that you should take from this sales section, it's to ask for the sale. Find a way that feels natural for you, but make sure you ask for the sale. If you don't ask, they'll never buy. Now, if you've asked for the sale and the individual says, "Oh, it's too expensive," or they give you some other sort of obstacle, that is where you need to overcome a lot of these obstacles. Now, this is the area where a lot of the times people feel like it's that slimy salesperson or that used car salesperson where, they're really trying to push the sale on you, where it doesn't need to feel that way. So, an obstacle that I commonly overcome for our gym is when I'm on the phone with a prospect, or if a prospect is across from me, one of the most common obstacles that we have is, "Oh, I actually need to speak to my husband, or I need to speak to my wife." And immediately when I hear that, my response is, "Yeah, that's great. What do you think they're going to say?" And the person's like, well, if it's something I want to do, then obviously they're going to be okay with it. And then that allows me to dig in a little bit deeper to figure out what the actual problem is. Is the problem that they need to speak to their significant other, or is the problem that they think the product is too expensive? If the product is too expensive, that tells me that I actually haven't talked about the value that my product can bring to that individual's life. So I can go back into my sale to talk about the value. And then I ask for the sale again. And then, depending on what the obstacle is, I can overcome that obstacle, go back to adding more value, and ask for the sale again. Okay. So this isn't that we're never taking no for an answer, but if you do have like your ideal client that needs this product, you want to ensure you're overcoming obstacles and doing your best to ensure that you're speaking to the values that your product can bring that individual. Okay. And then the last piece, and then I am done, is practice, practice, practice. Okay. Sales is a skill. Therefore, it must be something that you are actively practicing. And it doesn't necessarily always need to be real world practice. You can come up with all these different obstacles that people may say that you need to overcome. You can have your standard pitch that you use, that you're practicing, when to use certain words, how to use certain tonality during your pitch. All that stuff can be practiced on your own. Okay. So don't just wait for the real, example to happen. Take some time in your morning, take some time in your evening to practice what a sale or a potential sale can look like. So that is all I have for you. My voice is hoarse. Sorry, I've talked so much and so quickly. Just super passionate about this stuff. But what questions do you have?
Awesome. Isaac, do you mind if I turn off the presentation?
Absolutely.
Okay. You guys, you'll have Isaac's contact information already there. So I just want to be able to see everybody. There we go. Looks like you got a couple hands raised, Isaac, and please don't ever apologize about being passionate about what you're doing here. It's nice to have some energy come into this place. I love it.
Yeah.
Brittany, I'll shut up. Sorry.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. It was really informational. So I run Reed Supplies Canada. It's a online store that sells double reed supplies to Basuna Noble players. And so my question is that, we have an ad that we're planning to run in August that's in, and essentially there's a 15-second and a 60-second one that we've made that I want to run on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. None of our competitors have ever done any type of video ads before, just with this industry. So the question that I have is right now, it's kind of like a game where it asks like, what kind of things, double read things do you see in the following video? And then the call to action is just like our Instagram for the answer. And so I'm wondering if maybe it should be a different call to action to find the answers, and how you might go about doing that. Just talking about how you said like the landing page and getting customers information.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the idea would be when they click on the ad, the learn more, the whatever, it sends them to your Instagram. The hope is that they'll like your Instagram to then you provide them with the answer, right? Yeah, I mean, it depends what your goal is. If your goal is literally to just try to increase the amount of followers that you're having on Instagram or YouTube, that's not a bad strategy. But by all means, you can put an additional ask in there, right? Which is like us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube, and DM us with your phone number, blah, 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 for an additional prize or something like that. So it really, at the end of the day, depends on what your goals are.
Yeah, right now, like our following is very like international, and we're trying to really hone in on the Canadian market, specifically for sales. So that's where that the goal is kind of to get people talking about us and to share it with other people and to create like awareness more within Canada.
Yeah, it's not bad, Brittany.
Yeah.
I would almost focus more on a share campaign then. If your goal is to try to get your name out there and get people to share your page or your whatever, you can almost just do it for free in terms of offer some sort of prize, have people share your post or your whatever on their story or on their page or whatever it may be. But if I'm spending dollars, for me anyways, because I don't have a big marketing budget, I want to make sure $5 is going to give me $10 back.
Yeah, we were gonna do like a share campaign in July, just on with our like organically, and then run the paid during August and the first 2 weeks of September, which is like our big buying period. Is that, or should we just maybe be considering one?
Try it out. I tell you what, Brittany, send me a message afterwards.
Okay.
We can talk offline, because I do like, I want to talk to you more in depth about this, but I want to be mindful of some of the other as well. But yeah, send me a message. Seriously, we'll chat.
Okay. And my other question is just about, this one's quick with TikTok. So I'm not ready to be on TikTok and create content for it. But I have worked out like sponsorship with like where other people are going to sponsor it. But I was just wondering, like, what is your opinion on like being on TikTok if you can't create for it, and also like business account versus creator account versus individual?
Yeah, I would say set up a creator or a business account. I would go creator account personally, because it allows you to have the feature of question and answer, where business account doesn't right now. What's your target market age wise?
It's more like not so much age, but like beginners for our instrument, which is anywhere between like middle school to end of high school.
Yeah, that could work well. So I barely show up on our TikTok. I use our coaches, or I use my members. So if you're personally not ready to get in front of the camera yet, there's a lot of ways around it. But like, that's the real, like when we started to explode on TikTok is when we stopped giving a crap what people think about us. And I know it's so hard, but when you truly just like, do you know what? I don't care what people say. I'm going to go and do craziness on TikTok. That's when you become the real you. And people are like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more about Brittany.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Reach out to me. Make sure you message me.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Tracy, what's up?
So we just talked about like the call to action with Brittany. And so that was kind of one of my questions is like when you're running an ad, should you have the call to action in multiple spots at the beginning, at the end? Like I have mine right now at the end. And I'm wondering if I should kind of sneak that in maybe at the beginning. I'm not sure.
Great question. You definitely want it throughout multiple areas in your copy. I usually don't put it at the beginning. You can. Just the way I write my ads, I like to write story ads. So a story ad, if I put my call to action right at the beginning, it kind of disrupts the flow of it. So I like to do my story, get them really bought into my copy. And then at the end, there'll be my like very clear call to action, and make sure it's clear, like click the link below, like say those words. Cause a lot of times people are like, what do I do? Do I click the link? Do I click the picture? Where do I go? Tell them exactly what to do. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, perfect. I actually don't have that. I have like follow us and like whatever. I have all that, but I don't actually have like click the button at the bottom. So maybe I'll just be more clear.
Yeah, is this an ad that you're running, or is this like an organic post that you're putting on Facebook?
We have 2 ads right now. We're just kind of trying to see what is sticking, like how it works. Just more of a just to see how it works and how to run an ad and all the logistics, and see if like doing more focus versus less focus. I know like the images that you have with it impact. So we're just kind of experimenting right now. So
What's your product?
so we're photography, videography, and live broadcasting
Okay.
services. So
Do you know what kind of creative what kind of creative are you going to use in your ad right now?
so we're using like images that we've already like had, and then like I've taken, and then I typically write more like story based, like I put myself in their shoes kind of thing, and then draw them in that way. Like that's kind of just the way I naturally write. So that's kind of what I'm going with. But
Yeah, that's good for the creative, especially for photography. Make sure in the photo that it's very clear that you can see the whites of their eyes, and if they're smiling, that's always going to be beneficial. What we found right now that's converting really well on Facebook is portrait style photos. So I'll have a portrait style photo of someone who looks real. Like I'm not going to have a supermodel with 24 abs. I'm going to have someone that's very relatable and real, and a high quality picture that offers that pattern disrupt. That works really well. Instagram is a little bit of a different story, but Facebook anyways, that seems to be converting very high right now.
okay. And like black and white or color? Like I know you talked about Instagram and doing like a black and white that might stand out in Instagram, but with Facebook, are you noticing like color or black and white?
So what I usually do is, so this is going a bit more in depth, if that's okay. So I'll do an ad for $15 a day for one ad. And then I'll usually duplicate that ad and I'll change the creative. So it's about $30 a day for 3 days. If that ad doesn't provide me with less than $5 leads, I close those ads off and I try another one. With the 2 ads that I create, I keep everything the same with the exception of the creative. I'll change the creative to one full color image. The other one will be a black and white image. If I then notice that they're still not performing well, then I'll start to play around with the headline, test that again. Then I'll start to play around with the copy, test that again. But the one thing you want to make sure you're doing is not testing too many things. Like if you do black and white and color, and then you change the headlines for the 2, now you actually don't know which one is making your product or making your ad perform or not perform. So I'd recommend doing a black and white and a color, see what one works the best from there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Abigail. Oh,
I
you're
muted
muted.
myself, unmuted myself, then muted myself again. So my business is Cleana Hair Care, and it's a vegan, natural hair care product line for environmentally conscious Black consumers. So people who care about not only what they're using on their selves, but how it impacts the world after they use it or when they use it.
It's great.
So my question is something I had kind of talked about briefly with Dave. Was my business is in the early stages. I'm doing market research to define exactly how I want to formulate the products and how the actual formulation will solve the problem for my clients. My sort of question is, because I'm in the early stages and you had talked about landing pages, I'm having the website developed now. And I was thinking of putting a landing page that would start capturing information. Dave had mentioned because I'm so early, it may be too soon to do that. But then we discussed the potential idea of crowdfunding for my business because I'm so early stage. So I guess my is how to integrate the marketing or the promotion social media side of the crowdfunding campaign. Because if I'm going to go ahead with that, I would essentially be maybe running ads on social media that are advertising the crowdfunding to draw people towards that and then get that contribution and that call to action that way. So I'm just kind of asking for a little bit of insight in that sort of direction.
Yeah, so two things are coming to mind. The first thing is just with crowdsourcing or crowdfunding, making sure that you have like a very, very clear and concise plan on like your ideal customer, what it is your business is doing, like your branding sides. When we think branding, advertising, your branding should be really, really tight. Because if I'm going to invest in your business, I want to make sure like Abigail has a clear direction that this is actually going to, get off the ground and succeed. So make sure you're clearly communicating and what's the word I'm looking for, and confidently communicating your product. The next thing that's coming to mind, are you in London?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So there's a business on Dundas called Love Alchemy. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
No.
So Love Alchemy is just a standard hair salon, but their big thing is they only use like eco-friendly products. There's a big story behind it. The founder was a hairdresser. She got cancer from using a lot of these harmful products and all this just through the years of it. So they created this whole business around, Ashley knows.
Oh, wow. That's cool, Ashley.
Yeah. So my thought was going to be, just in terms of an idea of like what people are looking for, you can reach out to Love Alchemy and they can probably point you in the right directions, or at least give you a lot of tips of things that have worked for them and things that have not worked for them. They haven't formulated their own product. They're just using existing products in the market, but that might be a really cool place to start to say like, hey, I wish this existed.
Right. And finding out what draws them to the products that they choose to use.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I can tell you clean beauty is like a very big thing right now.
It is.
Yeah, so like
I'm a hairstylist as well. I'm not I just freelance and do like family and friends at this point, but I have experience working in salons and stuff. And so at this point, it's like we've come a long way in product development from when I first started out as a hairstylist. Yeah. I've been doing this for like almost over 17 years, and we've come a long way. And so I really want to contribute in moving that forward for the industry, especially with relation to Black hair care. Because, for example, relaxers are a product that Black women use to straighten their hair. It has been linked to fibroids in Black women. So there's definitely a need for that clean beauty for this demographic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really cool business to start, especially this time. So good job.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time, guys? No? Awesome. Well, Isaac, man, that was a great presentation, even better than last year. I really liked one of the questions I was going to ask you at the end was, you know, to have you be a little bit realistic on how much testing you do, like, because a lot of your presentation you're talking about developing these ads and putting them out there, and it's like we talk about that a lot. We don't actually talk about the finer detail of how long it takes to pinpoint something that actually works. It was nice that you went into that and gave them a little bit of insight that, yeah, it's not a one and done. It is testing and learning and feedback and trying. There is, you know, we have to have patience in this game, guys, big time. So thank you for definitely giving us insight there, in addition to everything else that you talked about today. And also offering to connect with our entrepreneurs here and then provide additional connections as well. It's just so much value, man. We really do appreciate it. Before you go, I do always ask our speakers to try to provide, if you're a podcast person, what are you listening to these days that you think could be of value to these new entrepreneurs? And then maybe one book recommendation. It can be in relation to the topic today or just something you're liking in life right now.
Okay. So there is a podcast. It's very specific, but it's starting to open up more. So there's a podcast. It used to be called Gym Launch Secrets. So I know, very specific to my industry, but he has rebranded it to be called The Game. And he's just, his name is Alex Hormozi, and he's an entrepreneur. And the reason I love it is it's small, short episodes, about 10 to 15 minutes long, very, very digestible and super just to the point. Like, he's going to talk about lead generation, or he's going to talk about sales or retention or whatever. So I appreciate it because it's to the point, and it's stuff that I've hired a business coach or mentor that we've paid thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to. And this guy says the exact same things for free. So I'm like, all right, people need to listen to this. So The Game by Alex Hormozi is the podcast. And then in terms of the book, there's so many. I believe it's called The One Thing. And I feel bad because I don't know who the author is. I just listened to it, and I'm going to find it because I have it up here quickly. So yeah, it's called The One Thing, and it's by Gary Keller. And the whole concept of it, which helps me being this ADHD entrepreneur, where like it's okay to focus on one thing, and how can this one thing make a massive impact on your business. So it's just nice to hear that even though there's 1,000 things that I could be focusing on, what is the one thing that would have the largest impact on my business, on my life, on my relationships, whatever it may be. So those would be my two.
Awesome. Thank you for the recommendations. I'll add those to our growing list of resources, guys. Thanks, Isaac. Now, I want to give you didn't do enough shameless plugging about your business. Like, you've got a lot of people here that, you know, we want to help spread the word for you too. So tell us a little bit, you know, let's hear your pitch about MVMT.
Yeah, see, I'm this is one of the things that you guys should all be good at, is talking about your own business. And for some reason I suck at it. But yeah, so I own a gym called Movement Strength, and realistically we specialize in working with busy professionals who are looking to lose the last 10 to 15 pounds. So if I think of my ideal client, it's someone who, you know, maybe they've tried other weight loss or fitness solutions in the past and weren't able to stick with them, where our approach is very much personalized. So we don't do standard group fitness. We don't do personal training. Every single one of our clients is actually paired up with a coach, and that coach prescribes them with specific personalized fitness, nutrition, and accountability. So what do we got for names here? So if Steve signs up and he doesn't show up at the gym on Thursday, his coach is giving him a call Thursday night being like, yo, Steve, you're supposed to be at the gym. Where are you at, man? Because we know what actually gets people results is consistently sticking to that one thing. So yeah, go to my website, www.mvmtstrength.com. Check us out on the TikToks. Don't go into the comment section on TikTok because it's just pure hatred. But yeah, check us out.
Awesome. Thank you, Isaac. Where are you guys getting the most, just my last inquisitive question, where are you like getting the most traction right now for your lead gen? Is it TikTok or is it Instagram?
So it's funny. So like we're not big on TikTok when we think of like some of the others out there, but like we have a decent following. It happened out of nowhere, and then sporadically because of it, there might be a post that goes like semi-viral that then gives us a big boost on Instagram. So, you know, last week we had, let's say 2,500 followers. Overnight, I wake up, we're at 4,800 followers. I'm like, what the heck, what happened? And that was TikTok growth, right? So yeah, what I'm finding now, and this is the thing, is it wouldn't necessarily be a suggestion that I would have, but it's more so because I have partners in my business and my business has grown in a way that I can now focus on different marketing avenues. We are on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, podcast. So we're everywhere. We're omnipresent. So what this means now is when we're getting leads, they might see us on TikTok, but then they'll go check out our podcast. And then from our podcast, they'll go check out one of our videos on YouTube. So it's almost like they're coming from everywhere now because we have such solid content on all of these different platforms. But I would say still the number one place that's bringing us clients is email marketing, which is free, and Facebook ads.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's great to hear that you said email marketing, because our next presenter is going to be talking about setting up kind of your first CRM and getting introduced into automation, which, you know, goes hand in hand, guys, with email marketing. So, and it's often, I find it's kind of like the bastard stepchild of like marketing. Everyone kind of like avoided it for a long time because they thought it had no, you know, in a social media world, everyone kind of is like, oh, does it really work still? But I think COVID really turned a lot of people's eyes back to it and have really shown like how effective it can be. So I'm happy to hear you say that.
Man, extremely underrated. We've been in business for 4 years. I didn't do any sort of email marketing until the past 3 months. And from our email campaigns alone, like just to talk real dollars with you guys, we've probably made over $70,000 from just email marketing. So it's wow. Real. Yeah.
That's incredible. Good for you guys.
Yeah.
Can I ask a super quick question, which is actually probably going to have a not so quick answer? Just because I'm curious, because I'm also a huge gym goer, lover. How has COVID changed? Because I'm a little bit familiar with you guys and sort of your model, I guess, like pre-COVID. How has COVID changed your, like, I guess, business model, in the sense that like I'm someone who I'm so sick of working out by myself at home?
It's a good question. So we almost pivoted our business entirely. So we've always had this more personalized approach where all of our members have a piece of software called True Coach, and that is how they get their workouts. But COVID pushed us away from group classes and totally to more of a personalized approach. The reason for this is when lockdowns happen, like the one that we're in right now, like we've been closed for around 300 days. So our clients, we know, are not going to be wanting to do YouTube workouts. They're not going to want to do Zoom classes. Right. So what we did is every single person has their coach. Their coach creates them a personalized fitness plan based off the equipment that that individual has at home. And then the most important part is the accountability that comes along with the program, where if you've signed up for it, or if we give you a workout, I can tell on True Coach if you're marking it as complete or if you're not doing the workout at all. And then we'll get on the phone, we'll figure out what's going on with Ashley. Maybe Ashley doesn't need to be doing crazy fitness workouts. Maybe she just needs to be going for walks every day. So it's very much just talking to the person where they're at right now. But that was all very much pushed because of COVID.
Nice. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah. We'll see you soon, Ashley.
Hopefully.
It's funny actually, because your previous location, I'm owner of the Mindful Co. So I have vegan, gluten-friendly small batch bakery. And I actually bake for Reimagine Co., which is where you guys used to be. So,
Yeah.
and now you're just down the street. So I do drive by you guys every day or every week at least.
Yes, you can go in and look at our old goal board that's still up at Reimagine Co.
Yeah, it's still there.
Awesome. It's great.
Awesome. Well, Isaac, we don't want to take up any more of your time, but my friend, it was very awesome to have you here, and we're really grateful for you sharing all your knowledge with us. And guys, definitely please reach out to Isaac if you have more questions. And yeah, just thanks a lot for being here, man. It's great to see you, and I hope we can do this sooner than later next time.
Yes, absolutely. And as always, if you guys have any questions, just reach out to me. All my contact information's in there, or you can ask David and he'll send it all to you guys.
Certainly, guys. Awesome, man. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day. Good luck with your business, and please keep us in the loop if there's anything that Leap Junction can help you out with as well.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome. Have a good rest of your day, buddy.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
All right, everyone, let's take a quick 2-minute body break. So we will have Jose joining us in just a second. So yeah, 2 minutes, and we'll get on with our next speaker. Turn the record back on. Great. Well, I am happy to say we have our next speaker here with us. As you guys can all see on your screen, we have Jose Martins with us. He has joined us from HubSpot. He is the sales, marketing, and services kind of rep, focusing mainly on helping startups. And he is our rep for the HubSpots for Startups partnership that we have. And we are very happy to have him join us today and talk a little bit around how to build revenue growth with customer relationship management software, or better known as CRMs. So we are happy to have you here with us today, Jose. And the floor is yours, my friend. Take it away.
Thank you, David. And hey everyone. Okay, before we start, scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? 10 being super excited, energized, ready to go. 1 being, I want to leave. The weather is great outside. I just want to go to the beach, man. So go over it real quick. 1 to 10. All right, Tracy. I think that's probably more genuine. Those 10s, I appreciate them. Thank you for the love. All right, we're gonna get started. So David was giving me a brief intro into what you were talking about before in the session with lead generation. Hopefully this will be very complimentary. We're gonna talk about managing leads and capturing leads with software, with some marketing assets. Some of these may be repetitive. So if you feel like, okay, like we went over that already, keep going, feel free to interrupt me. Or if you have questions, again, also interrupt me. You can interrupt me by voice if you want. And if you're like me, you prefer the chat to interrupt people, do that as well. I'll be monitoring the chat. So chat or voice, whenever you have a question or comment, feel free to chime in. I'm gonna share my screen. And this is the one that I should be sharing. Let me know if you see a large orange slide. Yeah, all righty. Who likes orange? I love orange, my favorite color. When I came to interview at HubSpot, everything was orange. And I told my interviewer, I want to work here. Everything is orange. I love that color. And luckily they said, you know what? We like people who like orange. So you're in.
You're in good company, Jose. Orange is our Leap Junction color. So
yeah. There you go. I have my orange t-shirt right here underneath this. And my wife was saying that those 2 colors don't go well. I mean, that's okay. I like colors that don't go well together. Make me stand out. All right, so I love startups. I work at HubSpot. Yes, obviously, I love startups. I was a founder 10 years ago. I feel like I still am, right? You're never out of that mentality of entrepreneurship and trying to start something new. But I did start a company 10 years ago. Man, it was hard. And I did not know anything about marketing and sales. And one of the things that I did once I decided to close shop was I need to learn marketing and I need to learn sales. So I was lucky enough to get an opportunity in sales at a startup, a tech startup in Seattle, of all places. And then that was good. I learned a lot about more the operational side of the startup world. And then I came to HubSpot to learn more structurally about sales and about marketing. And I'm excited to now be in the startup team for the last 2.5 years so that I can help startups think through how to do better marketing and sales. So I'm excited about today's session because we're going to talk about more tactically how to use a CRM, how to use a software to help us generate leads and manage opportunities for our business. Now, before we start there, I always like to share this slide. Who has an idea what this slide represents? Who can take a guess? Why the turtle and the rabbit? Look in the chat here. Patience. Yeah, right. Take things slowly. You're a startup. You have a lot of time. You have a lot of runway. Who's in that situation? No, no one. Yeah, we have to move fast, right? We have to move fast. But what I mean by this, slow and steady does win the race, right? My father used to say, calmly but without a fuss, and I love that expression. Now, this slide here, I like to show because when I speak with founders, especially if you're early on with your venture, at your early stage, when someone says CRM, you think of the turtle. Like, I like Google Sheets. It's faster, it's more nimble. I know how to use Google Sheets, and I think I can move faster. The CRM platform, something like HubSpot, Salesforce, Pipedrive, that's for when I'm bigger. That's for infrastructure, that's for process. It feels like I will be moving more slowly if I implement a CRM. And I like to share this because I think that mentality maybe was true. 5-7 years ago, we had all these legacy CRM systems that were clunky, that were for enterprise level companies. We didn't have this new generation of CRMs, which are nimble and actually a great fit for startups and early stage companies who are moving and adapting fast. And the reason I share this is I want you to avoid, if possible, what I believe are two mistakes startups make. One is they think CRMs and platforms are for later on, and I can just hack my way around doing sales and managing my sales pipeline with a Google Sheet. And what happens is you create a ton of tech debt very quickly, and you'll be surprised how quickly you are wasting or investing more time managing that Google Sheet than you would have been otherwise just using a CRM. Second mistake I see a lot of times happening is then the overcorrection, right? I've been using Google Sheets for a while. I notice I have a ton of tech debt and I never use a system. Now I need a system. And now you overcorrect all the way to like something like Salesforce or like Oracle or Microsoft. And they're great companies, but they're enterprise level software where you need IT departments, you need a sales operations team to help you navigate and implement those systems. And so you overcorrect to something that is extremely complex to manage for a startup and it's not nimble enough. So my suggestion for you from the get-go, get going with a CRM. And today we're going to talk about how do you do that? How do you do that with a free CRM, right? Who likes free stuff? I like free stuff. So we're going to talk about free stuff and how you can use that to get going faster. So what are the principles then when you're looking at a CRM that is nimble enough and it's going to help you grow at this very early stage of your startup? So 3 elements. You want a CRM to help you capture interactions you're having. And this is not only prospects or sales. These are investors. These are mentors, right? These are your existing customers. You want to capture all those interactions. You want a centralized place. You have quick access to all that information. And you can take action based on that information on your next step. What's your next communication going to be with your investors or a specific investor if they're going to put money into your business or a customer or a prospect or a mentor? Second thing you want a CRM to do, and most people miss that. A lot of people miss that. You want that CRM to help you grow your database, not only manage your database. How can your CRM help you grow your database? And I think you spoke about this a little bit with your previous person that was here speaking about lead generation. How do you use a CRM, a free CRM, right? Very basic foundational stuff, easy to do, that can help you capture a little bit more information and more people into your database that you can sell to or you can ask money from. And third, of course, is a more typical conception of a CRM. How do you then manage sales processes? How do you view your pipeline and how you make sure nothing falls through the cracks with a CRM? That's a monetized aspect of a CRM. So we're going to talk about those 3 today. Who likes the plan? Who wants to add something else? Good, bad, thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, one thumb up, I'll take it. All right, let's go. So first of all, this is no news, right? You decided to be an entrepreneur. You decided to start a company. Nobody forced you. Who was forced to be an entrepreneur? Raise your hand. No? All right, so you got yourself into this mess, right? So you can't complain to anyone. You decided this really, really exciting, but really difficult path. And there's going to be, especially when you're in an accelerator, incubator, there's a lot of people who want to meet you. There's a lot of people you want to meet. There's a ton of information flowing, and it's very easy to become overwhelmed. And you get to a point you may be thinking, well, like, I'm lost. How do I get on the right track? And how do I organize my stuff? So that's why I'm here. I'm hoping to share something that could help you a little bit better get back on track, right? So you don't end up living in a van down by the river. So let's get back on track. First of all, Jose, I don't have a CRM. I use Google Sheets, so I don't know which CRM to use. And I think they're expensive. Okay, no excuse. There's a free CRM called HubSpot. There's more, not only HubSpot. Maybe you don't like HubSpot, that's okay. Get one, a different one. Get a free CRM right now. You have no excuse not to do the one. If you want to get HubSpot because you think it's pretty cool, here's where you get it. You can activate it, you don't have to pay $1 single. Second thing is, whatever data you have, import it to your CRM. You want to start tracking and organizing your information. Very easy to do. First sign of a bad CRM, if it's not super easy to upload your data with a CSV file, you're probably looking at a bad CRM. So look for a good CRM that allows you to import data quickly and easily. Next thing you do, you connect your CRM to your email. Now, some CRMs assume that you will be working out of their system. The reality is, and that's true even at HubSpot, we are HubSpot, we use HubSpot. But even then, most of our job or most of our work is done on Google, on the email. So you want your CRM to be connected to your email, so you don't have to do what I had to do when I had that first job at a startup 10 years ago. We used a system that is well known, and I had to block 1 hour every day to log my interaction, right? 1 hour a day to log my interactions. I had to create a call, create an email. This is what I wrote. This is the call I made. You don't want that. You want the system to capture your interactions automatically without having to do the job. You want the system to actually add contacts that you're interacting with on email automatically without you having to do anything. That's going to save you a ton of time. So the way you do that is you connect your email to your CRM so that information flows instantly, automatically, without your intervention into the CRM. So things that you want to be able to track, you want to be able to log interactions, you want to be able to also connect your CRM tools into your email. You don't want to be saying, oh, I want to send an email to this investor or to this prospect, and having to go to log into your CRM and write your email there, right? And then have to track the response on your email. That doesn't work. You want to be sending all these interactions from your Google email or from your Outlook email, whatever you use, right? Or Apple, right? And you want those things to be happening automatically in the tool that you use. So very important thing for your CRM when you're choosing one, you have to be able to connect your tool so that you can work out of your email, not out of your CRM. So import your data, connect your CRM to your email. First few things you need to do. That's how you basically capture data. Now, you also create properties so that you can organize and segment that database in a way that is easier for you to navigate. For example, you want to separate investors from prospects, right? And from customers. That's one common one that I see being done. So make a pause here because before we move to step 2, grow. Any questions there or any comments there on capturing data on a CRM?
I have just a quick question. So if you can connect HubSpot into your email interactions for your business, can you also do the same thing through inboxes on social media platforms? Could you log those interactions as well?
No, that's a good question. They are tracked on our social tools. They're not on our free tools. So one I guess a disclaimer of this session. one of the things that I like about these sessions is I only focus, except for one exception that we'll highlight in that slide. All these tools that I'm sharing are on our free version of our tool. And my purpose here is, if you're not using anything at all, these are the free things that are available, at least at HubSpot, that you can start using today. Like as soon as we hang up, you go hubspot.com/create a CRM. All these tools will be available to you. Now, interactions with social are done with our social tools, but these are part of our paid paid tools.
Great to know, Jose. Thank you.
Good stuff. All right, good question. So I'll move on. Step 2, right? Okay, so how does the CRM help me grow? And you'll see a lot of stuff here that may be connected to the session you had right before this one. I don't know what this slide is doing here. It shouldn't be there. The first thing is you identify prospects. So one cool thing about modern CRM is that you're connecting digital interactions and digital like visits to your website, for example. When someone visits your website, the system, if you're connecting your website to your CRM, which is another thing you should do, it's not on the slides, but it's another thing you should do, connect your CRM to your website so you can start tracking who's coming in. One of the things you can do is kind of like when someone calls you on the phone and you don't know who they are, at least you know the phone number, right? You know, 617-933-0445. Okay, I know that number code. It's similar with visitors to your website. We can know where that computer, computer is connected to. So if someone is navigating from their business, and this is for B2B usually, the application, you can know that there's, you know, in this case, in this example, there's, you know, 11 people from SoftBank who have visited our website 34 times. So even though I don't have their information, they haven't filled out any form, I know that at SoftBank, there's interest in my company. I know that at Scaleway, there's interest in my company. So when I'm deciding, well, when I'm prospecting, when I'm trying to figure out who is the best person or who's the best company to invest time prospecting because they're maybe interested in what I can offer, this type of information is very valuable, right? It's very valuable to have. The other thing a modern system will do is it will scrape the internet and enrich the data, right? So if I have someone from SoftBank visiting my website, I don't know who they are, right? I need them to convert on some sort of form or download something so I can have their actual name and email. At least I know their company. I should also be able to, the system should be able to scrape the internet to enrich information about that company, like employee size, revenue per year, stuff like that, right? It should be easy to do automatically. So modern systems do that. It allows you to direct your attention in prospecting to the right places, to the priorities. Next thing you should have is a chatbot. Now, question for you here. Whom of you have a chatbot or a live chat on your website? All right. For those of you, great job. For those of you who don't have a chatbot, is it because A, you don't believe in it, 2, you think it's technically complex, or 3, you think it's too expensive? Expensive, complex, or don't believe in it? What do you think?
What was number 2?
I don't know. Can you write complex? Complex.
Throw it in the chat, guys.
Complex, expensive, or I don't believe in it. I think 2 is we have it, but I also don't believe in it. All right. Interesting, right? LOL, too complex. Right. So at least that one is okay. Expensive. Whomever is thinking expensive and complex, no excuses anymore. Now you've spoken with Jose from HubSpot and he told you, hey, HubSpot has a free CRM that has a free chatbot that is drag and drop, that you don't need to put one single line of code to make it work, right? No excuses, right? Next time you speak with someone at LinkedIn and they ask you, why don't you have a chatbot? You better say, I don't believe in it, right? It can't be because it's expensive or complex because you spoke with Jose today, right? But do you have to respond right away? So Rachel, your question, you don't have a website yet. will be interested in it, but do you have to respond right away? So you don't have to have a live chat. So you're not forced to be responding right away. You could have a chat bot. Actually, I'll give you a really cool tip. HubSpot did a ton of experimentation with live chat and chatbots for HubSpot. And we noticed that there's a 2 to 3x likelihood of people converting on a chatbot, like 3 times better conversion rates than live chat. People think live chat, what's behind a live chat is a salesperson who's going to try to push something down your throat. But people are more friendly to bots. Visitors to websites, they actually like bots better. So in a way, probably don't even have to worry too much about having a live chat, depending on the business you have, right? But most likely what you should really have is a chat bot. You have something where like, hey, someone wants to engage with you. You're not there. You ask for their information, their email, maybe their phone numbers. They're like, someone's going to be in touch with you in 24 hours and 48 hours. Or if they don't want to engage with someone, you can direct them to articles, right? You can try to answer their questions right there, right then. The most important part with a chat bot is that you're converting leads that are visiting your website. It's just another way that if you got all these efforts, and you probably talked about this before, you have ads, you have content, you're trying to get people to your website and they get there and you're excited because now you have 100 visitors this month. And next month you have 500. If you have 0 names, you're wasting your money and you're wasting your time. So you need to find ways to convert those visitors into leads. And a chatbot is a really good way, a modern way of doing that. A lot of people are converting at a higher rate on chatbots than they are in downloadable content or any form that you can put out there. So very important to have chatbot and not an excuse to not have one. The other thing is forms. Who has pop-up forms on your website? All right, I know David's gonna say yes to everything. I think he maybe uses something really cool like HubSpot or something like that, similar, maybe similar. All right, same thing that chatbot, right? People think it's complex or it's expensive. You spoke with Jose today, right? It's cheap because it's free and it's easy. You just drag and drop, you go through a series of screens and set it up. It's easy to do. I was able to do it, right? So this is an example. I did it for my wife's business. We set up a pop-up form. So if someone's in the website for 14 seconds or for 7 seconds, they'll see this pop up. If they scroll down, they see the pop up. If they scroll their mouse to like the exit of the website, before they exit, right? We have the thing on the middle of the screen. Hey, do you want to talk, right? These are all mechanisms for converting visitors into leads, right? You could also have downloadable content. You could also have the guide to X that is related to your business. Hey, the ultimate guide to SEO. HubSpot does that a lot. Can you give me some of your information? What we're trying to do is we want to capture information. The other thing that a conversion does, besides giving you more information about your visitor, is you can start seeing whenever they come back. You can start seeing, oh, this person came back to my website several times. Now I can start prioritizing leads by how many times they visit my website, the type of content they download. So that if I have 100 leads on my CRM, and I have to decide which of them do I contact first, I have a ton of contextual information to decide where to prioritize my time, right? It also allows you to add a piece here and there of information you want to capture from these visitors, so that allows you to segment your database to prioritize your outreach, right? Maybe someone downloads your pitch deck. Well, if someone downloads my pitch deck, I'm going to mark them as a potential investor, not as a potential customer. So I'm organizing my database so I can organize my time. So again, remember, how you grow your database with your CRM is you have a system that allows you to identify prospects even before they leave you their information, and allows you to implement chatbots, live chat, and pop-up forms. So you have mechanisms of conversion of visitors into leads, right? That's a lot, and I went through it really fast. Questions there? Anything that you're trying today that is not working, or anything that you want to try that you would like some advice before we move on to monetize?
I have a question, but I don't know, it might be a stupid question, and I feel like I followed along, but HubSpot would like do the pop-ups for me, or they help me set it up on the website? Like I have a Wix I'm running my website through Wix. I'm just wondering like how that works.
Great question. So HubSpot at the end of the day is a piece of software, right? It's a very good software in my opinion. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to create these pop-up forms. So what you would do with your Wix site is you would create, first you will connect the HubSpot CRM to your website, and then you will have in the HubSpot platform, you will have an area where you can create pop-up forms. You create them. You will have a screen-by-screen guide on how to create them. Right here's like, what's the question you want to ask? Is there any content that you want to share? What are the properties that are mapped to this form that is part of this pop-up? And then which of your pages do you want to show this on? And then you click activate, and then it will start showing on your website.
Tracy, I just added a link for you. It shows how to install everything that Jose just went through on a Wix site, which I've done in the past myself. So it's super easy.
Thank you.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, David. That's brilliant. Right. So again, bottom line, right? You have no excuse to not have a chatbot or pop-ups on your website because it's easy and it is free. Only don't do it if you don't believe in it. If you don't believe in it and you want someone to help you go through it, ask David or ask Jose, right? Why do you believe in it? How can it work for us or for our company, right? Never a bad question in these sessions. All right. So number 3 is then monetize. This is most likely what you think about when you think about a CRM. You think of the sales side of it, which, okay, I have an opportunity. How do I help? How does it help me navigate a sales process? How do I build a sales process that I can follow more repeatedly so I can scale better? Now, before we go there, question for you here on this session: who here has a defined sales process to selling what you sell? Oh, David had all the marketing stuff, but when I asked sales process, all right, he has one. All right, and I know some of you are raising your hand, but your camera is not on, so I don't know what's going on behind camera. So for those of you who have a sales process, can you tell us more about it? If you're not shy, can you unmute yourself and tell us more about your sales process? Need a volunteer.
Who wants to be brave?
I can be brave.
I can be brave. I love it. Let's do it.
Okay, our process starts with knocking on doors, and so we're doing canvassing, and we work on, like, we found that the more steps that we eliminate, the better. So we do have a website. That's the secondary line. But we start, like, our main line is to knock on doors and get their information. And then I can swing by that day and then give them their quote. And if they're ready, then we make the first appointment. And then it's essentially a subscription model, like a weekly or bi-weekly lawn mowing,
Brilliant. Right. So let me show you this. How does what you describe relate to this? And this is like, my perception is most sales processes have these aspects. Now, you described knocking on doors, which is the connect, and then the explore is, well, trying to figure out how we can work together. How big is your lawn? How often do we need to take care of it? How much does it cost? And then finally closing the deal. Would that be fair to say? Cool. Question for you: how do you decide which doors to knock on?
We kind of just, make sure they don't have a no soliciting sign. Other than that, we knock. But these days we've tried a couple. Sorry, there's a knife being sharpened in the background. You'll have to ignore that. But we've tried to just knock on the houses with longer grass for the first little bit, and we have seen a little bit more conversion rates, or a bit higher conversion rates, but not really anything too reflective on return on investment and time spent canvassing.
Okay, and do you literally knock on doors, or are you encapsulating calling on the phone or other methods?
We literally knock on doors and then give them the pitch there it's a pretty direct. We do have a little bit less direct line that might work better for a situation or for your scenario, or to get all of like the, going from a prospect to a lead to qualifying them. And then I'm not really sure too much about your opportunity section, but we did our campaign earlier in the spring where we just blasted out a whole bunch of door hangers that directed them to our website, where we had a chat box, by the way, and then made the conversions over the website.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Right. So what would make your process better?
That's exactly what we're trying to figure out.
Do you have any ideas?
Well, we did find that going directly to knocking on doors was more efficient. We got in front of their faces a little bit more and asked them for the decision right off the bat, because it's not like we're selling something that's as complicated as a CRM. And we have, one thing, and they pretty much know right away whether or not they want it. So we get the yes or the no as fast as possible. And if it's a yes, then they're pretty much already signed up. If it's a no, then they're not.
That's brilliant, right? So what I love of what you're describing is your sales process is not what you decided is how you want to sell. What you're doing is you understood how people buy what you sell, and you're adjusting to that. People don't go and do web research on who's going to cut their lawn. And they're not trying to understand different types of cutting their lawn. They just want it cut. So either they want it or not. And so they don't want to be investing too much time on it. They want just someone to knock on their door and tell them, yes, I've been looking for that. Now, the trick for you is if you're able to find somehow what are key common traits of people who would say yes when you knock on their door. And it's the same thing on digital, right? Is it that you look at their yard and you're like, yeah, they're not cutting that grass every week, right? It looks ugly, or I don't know, maybe the neighborhood looks better and they want to compete with their neighbors, right? It's nothing worse than having a neighbor with great grass. Then now you have to take care of yours. Now your house looks ugly. So what are those common characteristics of people who would say yes when you knock on their door?
Well, it's kind of ill-defined, actually. I found that we have one customer who gets his lawn cut every week, no matter what, sometimes every 5 days, and it's just absolutely perfect. And we have other customers that want it every 14 days to every 20 days. And we're just preparing our lawnmower for when we get to that jungle of a backyard, right? So we have them all over the map. But what we're doing that's unique is we're giving students their first jobs. So they have their own lawnmower and own weed whacker, and then they travel to these houses within walking distance. So our selling point is support a student, right? And I'm not sure if you've heard of College Pro Painters or Student Works. It's essentially the same model that I'm going for. And that's what makes the decision. So I don't really know how to reach out to that other than, I don't know how to identify that without asking, if you know what I'm saying.
I do, but I'm sure that with time and repetition, you'll probably figure that out. Just figuring it out.
Just finding those characteristics in the demographic before
or you may have a land and expand type of situation where when you get one customer in the neighborhood, then you can go to the next door neighbor and say, hey, Josh here to the left is working with us. He told me he was using, whatever, and they cost 3 times because they're professional services. We actually work with students, so it's cheaper and you're supporting what they're doing. He cared a lot about students in this community. He told me you care too, right? So maybe that's another way of going at it. And then maybe eventually you'll have some sort of way of, if you're doing a good job, have them refer traffic to your website. Like, hey, here's a code that you can give to your friends and neighbors. And maybe if 5 of you get together, then, we maybe give, each of you 30% off. And you're trying to viralize what's going on. Because and this is not the purpose of this session, but I just get excited about these things, is what's going to be the breaker or maker of your company is, can you scale without having the bottleneck of having to physically knock every single door of a customer you're going to acquire. And so if you can figure that out, then you're going to make a ton of money.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, the referrals is a huge thing. You know, when somebody hears about it, they're like, okay, that's cool. But then when they see a student roll up with a bicycle trailer and a lawnmower, you know, and then they're mowing the lawn and working hard and stuff like that, that's the real like moneymaker, you know, like, so if we can get people to refer people on their street, and if we can do some, you know, branding on the bike trailers, which is kind of what I'm working on, you know, a lot of those things I think will really help contribute.
Yeah, it's like when you see that moving truck for your neighbor and you're like, you write down that name, right? Oh, right. And so you want them to be aware. Like maybe those cutting machines or the grass cutting machines, maybe they're a little bit more noisy. So the neighbors hear you when you're there. Like, oh, there's the cutting grass people from the college. Now they're here. Let's go and do something with them. Let's talk with them. So I don't know. The one thing is, I think you want to make sure that knocking on people's door is not the only way you're acquiring customers, because that becomes the bottleneck for your growth. So for whatever that's worth, but we'll move on. Thank you for sharing, Josh. So
my pleasure.
In terms of process, one of the things that I've noticed, companies that grow very fast do really well is opportunity generation, which was why I was so excited about the conversation with Josh here. It's not how good you are at selling. It's not the ASP. All these things are important. It's not your close rate. What I found is the common trait of companies that grow very fast is they're really good at creating net new opportunities at scale. They create a ton of pipeline. It's almost like they can't keep up with the amount of people who want to buy from them. And so if you find a way to consistently create new opportunities, then you're going to be in a good place. So in terms of process, how that looks like, and I'm going to go back to like a more digital execution of these things, where like using email or making phone calls, is you have a number of activities that you have per week that is defined for your team, and you have a defined process for prospecting. So it's not random. It's not like, well, some of the leads I call twice, some just once, some I call 4 times, some I call every day, some I call 1 week, and then I speak with them the next time 3 months later. You want something that is consistent. That is really hard to execute when you're growing, you have a lot going on. So there are 2 tools that I think are very useful in a CRM. Going back to Jose, weren't we talking about a CRM? Yes. 2 tools in the CRM that can help you with this. One is templates. So templates is, you're usually at that early stage of connecting with a unknown prospect. You usually have a little bit of context and personalization you can use, and about 80% of your communication is something that you're repeating over and over again. It makes no sense to be writing the same email or a similar email every single time. You create a template that allows for a little bit of personalization, but it saves you a ton of time. Instead of wasting 10 minutes writing an email every time you're reaching out to a prospect, maybe you invest one minute only. So that's templates. That is free. The second tool that I'm going to share, that is the only tool that I'm going to share today that is not on the free HubSpot CRM. It's called Sequences. And what this does is it actually standardizes a process for prospecting. It does something like, I send an email, and then if I have no response from my prospect, and again, this is more on the digital side, right? It's not knocking on doors, it's sending emails or making phone calls. Is 2 or 3 days later, if I have no response, I'll send another email. And if X amount of time goes by and I have no response, I'll try another email. And I'll decide for my business, and I'll experiment, right? How many touches, attempts do I implement in this process, and see what works better. And then you start measuring. You start measuring your processes and see which one is your highest watermark. Which of these 3 ways of prospecting is working better for me? Is it 8 attempts, or is it 4 attempts? Or is it 12 attempts? Like at a HubSpot, small business, 6 attempts. Enterprise customers, 15 attempts. We didn't make it up. We just tried and iterated until we reached a process that was optimal for that segment. So for you, it's very valuable to have an understanding of which of these processes is working better, and then iterate from that higher watermark. And then which email is creating more opens? Which email are people opening more or clicking more on setting up that meeting or replying on to more? Which ones do I need to adjust a little bit, right? So Sequence is a great tool. This is the one tool that is paid on all of the things that we're talking about today. And that's all related to connecting with prospects. Now, the next thing is what you probably see as a CRM is setting up a sales pipeline with stages, with probabilities of closing with people at each stage. So it gives you a good idea of how much money do you anticipate coming in to your business in the next period, like quarter, year, month, or week. One good thing that I've learned is helpful when you're designing a pipeline first is do what Josh did, is try to understand how your buyers buy, not how you want to sell, but what do they go through as they are trying to make a decision about buying what you sell, and mimic your pipeline to reflect how people buy, not how you want to sell. That's number one. The second thing is have inspectable, measurable stages. So when you say something is moving from stage 1 to stage 2, what needs to happen so that something moves from stage 1 to stage 2? Why this is important is when you create this level of consistency, it doesn't sound like much when it's just you selling. But as you start building and growing your company and you start hiring people, you want to have consistency in what something at negotiation stage means for the entire team. Because then when you're forecasting revenue and you have 3 salespeople or 7 salespeople, you want to have a reliable number, and you want everyone to say, when I say something is a negotiation stage, it means that I already have commitment for the decision maker. I have buy-in into the value proposition, I have buy-in into the price, and I have X, Y, and Z pieces of information that I've gathered throughout the sales process. So you want consistency. In execution, we call this exit criteria. And it's what you see in this example to the right, the updated stage properties. The next thing is with, what's that? Why men in kilts, power washing are in kilts? I think this is from before.
Yeah, that was we were just talking about, you were talking about loud power equipment. That's why it's loud. And there's a local company called Men in Kilts, and they do power washing, but all the men are in kilts. It's meant to get attention, right? That's what I meant.
I love it. Like there's no mistaking they're there, right? Okay, so with pipelines and opportunity pipelines and deal pipelines in CRMs, this is my favorite part, and HubSpot used to not run on HubSpot because we were too complex for our tool 5 years ago. And then we moved to HubSpot, and it was really cool. And one of the reasons it was cool is it works kind of like a Trello board. And it's so much easier to have visibility and keep things updated. The problem with pipelines is not designing pipelines, is not filling it with information. The biggest problem with pipelines is keeping it up to date. Where you'll see you usually see deals there that show close date January 2020, right? And we're like in June 2021. Why do we have close date January 2020? It's because it's really hard to keep things updated. So there are systems like this that are modern that allows you to more easily view your pipeline and create filters, right? Where you can see stuff that is off track or things that you need to pay attention to, like which are my deals that are closing this month, or which are my deals that have a close date in the past. That means that information is not updated. Which are my deals that are of X value that I haven't had a contact with or an interaction with in more than 2 weeks. I need to react to that, right? It's a high value deal and it's kind of cooling down. So creating views to direct your attention to the deals that are most important today is a good aspect of CRMs. And finally, one of the biggest values of a CRM is to be able to learn from what you're executing on. We spoke about sequences before and how you optimize and have a better prospecting process. It's very interesting to understand how your team is operating, or if it's just you, where are the opportunities for improvement in your sales process? Because I assure you, what you have now is not what you're going to have 3 months from now or 6 months from now. And the reason is you're going to learn what's working and what's not working. You're going to learn what you're doing right and what you're not doing right. If you see deals are spending too much time on a certain stage, that means that either the customer is needing more information that you're not giving, or you need an extra step before that so that they're more informed and they can move quicker on that process. Maybe if you have a team, maybe it's a training thing. So we noticed this in LATAM when we were selling HubSpot in LATAM. We navigated these deals fast until negotiation stage, and then they will be stuck there for many months, way more than the rest of the teams at HubSpot. Well, what the hell is going on? And well, what's going on is 6 years ago in LATAM, people didn't know HubSpot or inbound. And when we were talking about funnels, they had no idea what we were talking about. And so it was really hard for them to have a tangible understanding of the value of what they were buying. So at the end of the day, they were buying software. So what we realized is, oh, what we actually need is an extra step in our sales process just for LATAM, that we go through a funnel review, your funnel today and your funnel 6 months after implementing inbound with HubSpot. And that made it more tangible for customers to buy. And so then now they were navigating our sales process way faster. All of this comes from analyzing what's happening. And it all comes from capturing data and analyzing data all the time with the mentality of not reporting to a CEO because you're the CEO. It's with the mentality of how do I make this better? How do I close deals faster? And how do I close deals in a way that is more consistent? One thing that will kill any company is one deal closes in 1 week and the other deal closes in 3 months. It's impossible to forecast cash flow if you don't know if a deal is going to close in a week or if it's going to close in 3 months. You cannot have variability in your sales process, that level of variability in your sales process. So analyzing data allows you to normalize a little bit what's going on. So in summary, Jose spoke a lot and very fast. Hopefully this is helpful. Optimize our reach with sequences, personalize your pipeline to your buyer, right? Set up views to prioritize where to spend time, and then use that data to see how can you make your process more nimble, more scalable, and improve with time. And hopefully that will help you make a ton of money. Yay, we're done. Was this helpful?
I think so. What do you guys think?
Brilliant.
Very helpful.
Great GIFs, by the way.
Oh boy.
I appreciate good GIFs.
There you go. There you go. All right. So any questions for me? This is the time we have. How much time do we have, David?
Yeah, we have time. If you guys have questions, we've got about 10 minutes.
All right. Ask me anything, right?
Don't be shy, guys.
You can ask on the chat. If you're like me, right? When there's a lot of people on a Zoom, I don't want to unmute myself. I just ask on the chat. So if you're like that, if you're like me and you want to ask on the chat, please do so. Ask on the chat. What's your question? I'll be happy to help out.
Well, I have a question, if I can ask, Jose.
Let's go.
So we have various business here, lots of different industries. Some are B2B, some are B2C, some are both. And a couple are further along in their sales stage, and others are still a ways away from making their first sale. In the grand scheme of things, like, you know, getting a CRM set up and ready and starting to use it. I know I think a lot of people might be doing that kind of pro-con thing of like, is this something I need now? When should I start using that? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit at the beginning of the presentation, but I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit more of like, what am I missing out on if I decide to forego this right now?
Great question. So I think there's two aspects. And this is coming from, again, I started a company 10 years ago, and I had a really good friend who was starting a company that was doing something kind of similar to HubSpot, but very much specific to startups. And it was about managing like your marketing, and it was kind of like a CRM. And I'm like, no, I don't have time for it, right? And I regret it. The reason I thought I didn't have time for it is I didn't understand it. Many founders, we are really good at what we're building. Many of us are not really that great at go-to-market, marketing and sales. And we try to avoid the things we don't understand because it's painful, right? And it's already painful enough to be an entrepreneur to add more stuff that we don't value because we don't understand. Now, maybe some of you are not in that bucket. Maybe some of you are like great marketers and great sales professionals, and that's great. That's a great advantage. But one of the things I've learned with time is, and especially working with startups, is the CRM, the value of adding a CRM really early on, like almost day one with your startups, is twofold. One is there's always a ton of people you're meeting and a ton of information you want to have organized. And I've seen great use cases of using HubSpot or like a CRM only for managing investors, like a landing page for investors with a downloadable that is your pitch deck and a sequence of emails to nurture investors who may be interested in talking with you. And that happens day one. Make no mistake, even if you're not actively now searching for investment or for money, every day is a day that you could be getting people interested in what you're doing so they can give you money in the future, even if it's not a VC, even if it's like the 3Fs, right? So that is a use case for using a CRM. So very early on, there's ways to use a CRM that is not only about managing a pipeline of sales opportunities. That's one. Second is, one of the things with a CRM is also not a culture, but a practice. It's almost like a mentality. Like getting used to using a CRM is not a thing you light up with like a switch. It's not like, oh, let's start using a CRM, because you're used to using your email. Like now, no one tells you you have to use your email. You just do it. Like you don't have to brush your teeth. Like you just do it. Same with the CRM. If you embed that culture of let's work out of a CRM because it's a more organized way, a better way to grow, more without stuff falling through the cracks, with more transparent access to information and alignment to what's going on with every one of us here, the sooner you get that mentality of have all the information in the system so everybody has visibility so we can make more informed decisions. The earlier you make that culture part of your startup, the better. And it's better to do it when you don't need to use it as much. When you're already used to using that Google Sheet for pipeline and a different Google Sheet for the metrics from your email from MailChimp and another Google Sheet for the metrics of website visitors for like Google Analytics or Wix or whatever. And you're used to just navigating different spreadsheets, that becomes your culture. And it's really hard to change that into, oh, no, let's just scrap all that. And now let's centralize everything in one single CRM. If you do that later, it's way more painful. So my advice, and it could be HubSpot, it could be something else, but have that mentality of let's use a centralized platform for information where every single person in this company is going to work out of.
I would 100% agree with that last part of your statement. I have a company with a few friends of mine. You know, we're in year 12 right now, and implementing a CRM and a proper sales process after about 6 to 7 years in business was one of the hardest things that I had to take on. It was my project that I had to do. Mainly, the hardest part of it was actually getting the rest of the team on board and going through just changing process to the point where it actually took years. It didn't just take months, which I thought it would take. It took years to get everybody to get comfortable with the technology, get comfortable with changing what they had been doing of using this tool and that tool and this tool. And it was the most like annoying thing I think I've ever done in my life in business. It was so frustrating. If we would have had a tool like this from something like this from the beginning, it would have been a lot easier to transition everybody, I think. But yeah, don't follow my mistake. That's for sure. I'm like having like PTSD a little bit just thinking about it. Gosh, Tracy, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering because you said like it's free, but then like you can pay into subscription. Like what is the different, like is there different tiers of subscriptions and like how much is it and what kind of offers does that like bring with it or additions?
Good question. So the way, and this is more HubSpot. So please don't feel like it is me being salesy. I'm just answering the question. But HubSpot has tools for, on the paid side of things, tools for advanced marketing, advanced sales, and when I say advanced, it's automation and all that stuff, customer service, and even building your website. And so The good thing is with our partnership with Lipin, you guys get 90% off of these tools. So it varies. It's a wide range. The most common subscription from startups who are building sales and marketing processes on HubSpot is they get marketing professional and sales professional. And with a 90% discount, you're looking at around $120 a month for professional level tools. These are the tools that a mid-market company would use, but it's being used by your startup because it's 90% discounted.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be sharing the details of our HubSpot for startups sign up info and kind of everything that kind of comes included with that with you guys today. So it'll be an email blast going out to everybody today. Any other questions?
I do have another question about like the sign up process. So you just put in like all your information and just like automatically links it. And then I go to like Wix and I have to like link it that way. But so it's like pretty easy, I guess.
It is. And what is easier is the HubSpot knowledge base, which is the articles that help you with the how-to, are built on our SEO optimized platform. What that means is you don't have to go into HubSpot and knowledge base and look for an article if you want to know how to do X. What you do is you Google search, and you Google search stuff like connect my website to HubSpot on Google, and it'll give you the instruction sheet. But basically it is when you're in HubSpot, you navigate to where a code is that you copy and paste to the header and footer of your website so you can start tracking visitors and where visitors are coming from. So you can start generating reports on where the traffic is coming from on your website that you also may have in Google Analytics, and you can integrate with that. But then you can start doing stuff where now you're connecting. Think about this: you're connecting your website and website traffic information to your CRM. Now, it may not sound like much in the beginning, but eventually you can see stuff like the ASP of customers who find me on LinkedIn is 3 times larger than the customers who find me on Facebook. So, hey, investor, I'm going to put all my money on LinkedIn ads because the ASP of the average purchase price of a customer that we generate through LinkedIn is 3 times higher than on Facebook. Or we can say something like, when I put $1 on a Facebook ad, I get $5 in sales. So that's what I'm going to invest my money. So you start really connecting your revenue, your dollars that you're selling to your marketing activity, and that guides how you invest money in marketing and growth. And a lot of investors love to see this. Many are going to ask you, what's your cost of acquisition of customers? And you can tell them, well, this is much on Facebook, this is so much on email marketing, it's this much with my SEO efforts. That's going to give you a ton of credibility.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then obviously we'd be getting a receipt, so it's tax, like we're able to write it off on our taxes, correct? Like it's a service, a software, or is that not taxable? I don't know, if you know that answer.
I don't, sorry.
David.
Maybe that's a question for Taylor, but I think yeah, it would be a business service, so I would think it would be considered a taxable benefit. So most likely is my guess.
That's where I get confused with like the software and stuff, because like with my stuff I have like a lot of software I have to put in like money for. So
I believe you would be able to actually.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to take myself off mute for like a long time because my computer was freezing. So I was like trying to tell you, yes, you would be able to write that off. It's an expense of the business to help you generate revenue. So yes, it would be.
Okay, thank you.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, we do it in the US. Yes, with my wife's business, we write it off too. I mean, like it helps us with our taxes. I don't know in Canada, but thank you for clarifying, Abigail.
Awesome. Good questions, Tracy. Anybody else have anything they'd like to ask Jose before he heads off today? No? All right then. Well, Jose, we have your contact information. Is it okay if the students reach out to you?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
And if you want me to share anything, right, if you have anything going on, I'd always love to give a shout out to startups on my network. So feel free to contact me, even if you want to, like, hey, we're you know what, we're doing lawn mowing with students, and you can support students, right? Send me a quick note. I'll share it on LinkedIn, right? See who's interested.
That's an awesome resource. Thank you, Jose. We really appreciate it.
There you go. Well, it was great meeting you all.
Thank you so much for sharing all the awesome benefits of CRMs and just, you know, being really practical with your knowledge, bringing that energy and that orange awesomeness today. It was really nice. I know Wednesdays are tough. It's like, you know, middle of the week. So we appreciate your energy and the smile there. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope we can do this again soon.
Absolutely. Let's do it again. Thank you all, and great meeting you all. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jose. Take care. Enjoy
Bye.
the rest of your week. Great. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today. I think there's two really good presentations. I know it's a lot of information to go through, especially when maybe you're not quite into that sales game yet. But remember, baby steps, little things, right? Just getting your CRM set up and just tinkering around with it in your spare time. HubSpot today versus HubSpot 10 years ago is a super easy program. I've used Salesforce as well quite a lot. And I'll tell you right now, yeah, it is so much better for small businesses. There's lots of little CRMs out there you could definitely use. But if you're looking at something like, if you're looking to grow, you're looking to add even just one more salesperson in the future sometime, I think, to be honest, just for what they can offer, because HubSpot has scale. And the ability to offer that tool with everything it comes with for free, you're not going to really find that anywhere else. Now, there are niched out products out there that might be a little bit more skewed to your industry that you can definitely look at too. But, you know, they can't really match that scalability. So if, you know, you're seeing growth, it's all the add-on tools that really can help. So I'm going to be sending you guys an email today. It will show you how to sign up for the HubSpot for Startups. That doesn't mean that you there's a bunch of different things that'll come in there. You can look at all the different packages. You can just, by all means, just go and sign up for the free CRM. But if you want to take advantage of the other stuff, you kind of have to follow the process, make sure you're linking back to us as the supporting organization. And it doesn't mean that, like, just because you sign up for the CRM today and you're not going to use the full suite of stuff, doesn't mean you can't later sign up down the line. So have a look at that stuff, and when you're ready, you can, you know, you might be able to fully take advantage of it. Because one of my fellow colleagues, they use the full social tools suite as well as the sales suite, and like when you're taking full advantage of it, you know, they get, you know, his company, they get about 50,000 hits on their website in a week. So, you know, they're trying to convert people like crazy. So I think it costs them about $4,000 a month just for the software, because they're using everything on there, and they've got about 10 salespeople. So totally different. It can go from free. It can, you know, so it can kind of scale with you as you need it. So something to be aware of there. Does anybody have questions about today, or questions about this week, or anything else that you want to talk about in front of the group here?
Yes, I have them written down.
Okay. Go for it, Abigail.
So, one, I know that you and Kelsey announced that you're taking out the competition aspect of the business plan pitch.
Yep.
So does that mean we're also losing the opportunity to gain additional funding that way?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. I wanted to ask about that and clarify, so thank you. Also, how much are we expected to include as far as financial projections in the business plan? Like, how in depth do you want us to go?
Yeah. So I'm going to be sending out a deck at the end of this week that will show you guys kind of what we're expecting to see. And that should clarify that. The financials, it is up to you. Like, by all means, just because I put like the things we put in there, if you want to go into more detail, we're happy to see that. And I know, obviously, with your background, Abigail, you may want to go into more detail to just share more of your projections. We are going to be, you know, we still have 2 financial planning days coming up with multiple different speakers, as well as I'll be doing sessions in there too. So there's still more to come, mainly around the sales projections side. And there will be a spreadsheet tool, an automated spreadsheet tool that will come with those sessions that you can use, which
Okay.
will then, that tool will be great for all of you who do not have an Excel background or a financial background. It's be a helpful tool to just plug some numbers in, and it will spit out a printout and something that you can use really easily. So that'd be really helpful if you're struggling there. Does that answer your question, Abigail?
Yes, it does. But you raised something that addresses or brings up my next question.
Okay.
So, because there are still days to come that relate to things we may need to have in our business plan.
Yes.
I guess I'm just trying to plan my time wisely to make sure that I get it done. And it's due the 15th. So I'm just wondering, how long will we be learning things that you want us to include in the business plan? Like, will we stop learning pertinent things by like the 10th and then have 5 days to include that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fair question. The unfortunate answer is that technically it could be right up until the day before, kind of. But the main important parts will pretty much finish on the 8th. So that'll be like the ending of the financial parts. On the 2 days prior to business plan presentation day, which is the 16th, that Thursday, the day before, we're just going to be going over, it's going to be kind of a really loose session, and we'll be talking about different parts of the plan. You can just kind of openly ask questions. You can share what you have with the group. And we'll be kind of talking through kind of like that finalization. And then the day before that, which is the Tuesday,
you have your days mixed up. The 15th is the Thursday.
Yes, the 15th. Yeah. The 14th. The 14th. Yes. Sorry. And then the 13th, which is the Tuesday. Sorry. That's just going over an operations plan. So it's managing kind of operations for growth, which is more about looking to the future. It's less important for a plan. It's more about like, okay, what comes next in the future? Like, we're building this plan for now, for the next year, essentially, maybe even next quarter, next 6 months. But we talk a lot about the future. So that part doesn't necessarily get, it's good for investors and things like that to look to the future, but a lot of you aren't seeking outside investment. So I find that part is not super duper important really to be concerned about in the business plan. But up until the Thursday before, there will be things being included. Now, we are not a course that you are getting graded on here, guys. This is always important to remember. But we want you to be putting your best foot forward and be putting effort into this, but we're not going to drag you over the coals. But at the same time, don't just do it the night before, right? Like, we want to see some effort put into these business plans, but just like as a business owner, no one is keeping you accountable. You are accountable to yourselves, right? We are giving you a deadline, and you're as accountable as you want to be with the effort. It's totally up to you. You get in what or you get out what you put into it. So by no means, we don't expect you to be perfectionists here. We're not financial advisors that are going to be like, sorry, you don't get that $100,000. It's just meant to be good practice, and it's going to be a tool that's really going to help you, as you move forward. So don't freak out over this. Okay. Whatever effort, I feel like I know you all well enough now that like, I know everyone here is putting good effort in, and I feel like the effort you guys are going to put forward is going to satisfy us. So I wouldn't worry too much. You're all probably more, your level of standard is probably higher than what we're already expecting anyways. And I know that for sure for a couple of you, based on our conversations we have, that there's definitely some perfectionists in the group. And that's an entrepreneurial trait. I am also one of those people with myself.
Literally 100%, because it's perfection.
Right. And hey, the enemy of, or perfection is the enemy of speed and productivity. And in business, you just have to, one of the things you're constantly learning is about what is good enough. Because what is good enough for you is very different than what is good enough for your customer or whoever else. We just had this conversation this morning when I was at that video shoot, with a bunch of people who work for this company. And like, it's all type A. And actually one of the girls who was there, we went to school together. And everyone there's like a type A personality, perfectionist, and like at that company, they kind of demand perfection. And it was funny to have that conversation. And what came out of it was that everybody, you know, like the boss was there too, and then the former owner of the company, and they both said, like, you know, what we expect is still far lower than what they expected themselves. And that they're like, we like it that way, because that means we're always going to get good performance. But, you know, this is different. You guys aren't boss employee relationship. This is on you. So you got to figure out that balance for yourself. And I think it just comes in time, right?
That's really cool, Jenny. I like that.
I love it, Jenny.
I really like that. I was just going to say, so I actually, part of why I was asking all of this is because I got connected with somebody today who is actually a business coach and does like business plan writing. So
Awesome.
I was going to have her review. No, because I'm going to be
Outsourcing.
I wasn't going to hire her to do mine, but I was going to hire her to review mine before the competition aspect, if there was still like a chance to obtain funding. But since the funding isn't an aspect, I'm not going to spend that money now. I'll spend that money after I've done the plan. And then I'm going to the next level of who I'm going to be presenting it to. And I think that would be a better investment of my money. But I just wanted to clarify all of that. Thank you.
Just because, you know, we're not having the competition, there are tons of business plan competitions out in the world. And once you've got a polished, finished one, I definitely recommend doing, you know, spending some time Googling and submitting like crazy. Like when we actually do our applications for Leap In, we always get these spammed business plans of like people who have startups. And they're literally just sending them around the world. And it's like, they must have a bot set up or something like that that's auto doing it. But you can look for opportunities to pitch and submit business plans in so many different ways, whether it's for grants, whether it's for competition money. So I definitely think that's a key resource, Abigail. So that's cool that you're going to meet with this other advisor.
She's really cool. And like her resume is crazy because she was an entrepreneur of the year with Microskills in 2012. And Microskills was a company in Toronto that used to do a similar incubator like this. It was 12 weeks helping women develop a business. And I got accepted into it twice. The first time an election happened and the new incoming party did cuts that cut their funding. So they put the program on hold. Then they came back, things were good. I got into it like a couple years later, and then the whole company folded. Like I think they just ran out of money and then funding issues. And so I've been trying to do something like this for a while. And so there's tons of business plan competitions that I keep even seeing now. There's one that I came across that's due in 2 days. And I'm like, can I pull it off? And I'm like, no, I can't. But it's like a mental note for the future. So Dave's right. There's tons of them out there, especially on Instagram.
Set a Google alert too. I use that for any competition type stuff. Like Jenny and I'm constantly sending stuff over to Jenny that comes into my inbox to share out with, you know, our audience and other individuals as well. So yeah, there's always stuff happening. You just got to be willing to dig for it. Awesome. Any other questions, Abigail?
Nope. But when we're done, I would like.
You want to talk? Okay. I have a meeting
after
at 4:15 today. I'm just putting that out there so we know. So I will have a hard finish today at 4:15. But thanks for the questions.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Brittany, you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, and maybe I missed this, but for the, like, do we have to make a presentation on our business plan as well? And where are the instructions for that?
Yep. There's going to be just a quick, like a deck to go with it. Like we don't want to just, like, you guys will submit the business plan It's going to just be very similar to the layout of your, like, you don't need to fret about it. It doesn't need to be anything more than what you already created for your initial interview. There's just going to be additional slides, and the information will have changed as well. So yes, the deck will go out to you at the end of this week. That will be a template of what to include.
Okay, so we don't have it yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Brooke?
Hey, I was just wondering, on the business plan template that you guys had provided with us, if there's a section that doesn't really pertain to our business, are we just to delete it out of, okay, perfect, perfect.
Cut it. Yeah, if it doesn't pertain to you, get rid of it.
Awesome.
Ebony?
Yeah, it was more of a comment. So today was great because I like the idea of, I've always thought about, okay, when it's time for me to start selling things, it seems overwhelming to like maintain everything, but the fact that he was able to put it all into like a system that, you know, you plug things in and it's automated. It excites me to like just get it done, because sometimes I procrastinate out of the fear of having so much more work to do. So that was exciting to have that resource shared with us. And also I had followed up with, because I know some people were asking about it, but I followed up with Shop Here and made an appointment with them, same day appointment. And they create the website, but like whether it's Squarespace or Shopify, they make it for you. And I was even asking her, I'm like, okay, well, what do you get out of it? Or like, what's the catch? You know, because she's like, oh, just give me all your information. We'll make it for you. You just have to kind of like, but I'm a student, so it would be kind of like free for me or something like that. So, and like, yeah, like it was so easy. She's like 2 weeks and you can be launched. And I was like, oh. And so they're done. Did they say they extended? So they're done as of next week, but because I had the appointment, she was like, well, we can't get it done in a week. So we'll be able, I'll still work with you past that date. So I think that was amazing. She's like the resources and all that kind of stuff. So definitely, and I think they're like, when you go on, it's literally some of them are same day appointments. So if you can get in, that would be awesome. Yeah, that's kind of just all I wanted to say.
Thanks for sharing, Ebony. That's awesome to hear that you got the meeting. So if anyone else was considering applying in, I would recommend filling out those contact forms or trying to call them and get in touch right away then before they shut her down. Ebony, I just wanted to also say too, back to your comment about the system, the CRM, the automation. If any of you are really into like gaming, like not video gaming, but gaming the system, marketing automation is like probably fun for some of you because you're constantly like tinkering and trying to make stuff work. And like the way the tools are laid out now, it's a lot different, especially HubSpot and Wix has them. Squarespace has marketing automation tools. There's Zapier. There's so many of them. They're all like, they've come a long way just in the last couple of years of like making it easy to make tweaks and figure it out. And like, it's like a little video game you're playing against yourself, whether it's from a contact form or you're creating an email system, whatever it might be. You know, you're creating some type of workflow that hopefully, you know, gains you more leads. You're constantly like battling against yourself. So if you're a gamer, I find it's actually really fun. And actually, George that delivered one of our marketing presentations, that's actually what he used to spend most of his time doing for all these different companies, was creating workflows for all their clients. If you're not into it though, it is one of the easiest things to hire out for cheap. You can go to something like Upwork or Fiverr and someone will build you a workflow for HubSpot, build you a workflow for whatever. You just, you know, take a session or two with them, let them know what you're trying to build, and they'll go into your login, or you make them a login, and they can build you a sample workflow that is, you know, you just got to ask them like, I want something that's proven that you've used for something similar. So it's definitely something that you can hire out if you don't want to spend the time and the effort doing that, because your time needs to be making baked goods or your time needs to be doing other things, right? So, but man, if you're a gamer, it's fun. it's fun making those little tweaks. It's a lot more fun, especially if you're not like the creative person. Like I don't really like gaming on social media where it's like, I got to make the creative and then test the creative. And I got to make a headline. I hate copy and I hate creative, but I love goofing around in the email automations. So, you know, find what you like, stick with that, hire the rest out, I always say, right? So cool. Any other comments, questions, concerns before we finish up today? That is exactly why we make a great team, Jenny. Yeah, I hate all the stuff that you love. Awesome. Well, guys, I think it was a good day. It was a good Wednesday. I may or may not see you tomorrow. Kelsey's gonna be taking over tomorrow with her bro. They'll have kind of their whole thing going. But yeah, we're gonna be talking about omni-channel sales and going a bit more into a deeper sales process. So kind of picking up where Isaac left off in that 6-step process, kind of where tomorrow will pick up. So I hope, if I don't see you, I hope tomorrow's session goes really well. And if anyone wants to stick around, ask more questions like Abby does, I'm here till about 4:15, and I'm sure Jenny can stick around as well. But if not, enjoy the nice day, and I will see you all either tomorrow or on Tuesday. Farewell.